Alhaj Hassan Olenado said the community has been unfairly targeted by security forces, particularly the Anti-terrorism police unit, which often detained suspect Muga Ndu Okoh. In Nairobi, they plan to hold rallies outside Jamia Mosque with a similar program lined up in Mombasa's Makadara grounds.
Kidnapping, murder, forced disappearances, that is terrorism. And anybody who in their mind thinks that you can terrorize people in your perceived fight against terrorism is really mistaken.
Starting this Friday, we are calling upon all Muslims around the country to embark on rallies after Friday prayers to protest these gross injustices. In Nairobi, a rally will be held outside Jamia Mosque after Friday prayers, and a similar program will be held at Makadara grounds in Mombasa.
Now, the High Court has issued orders temporarily suspending the military takeover at the Kenyan Medical Supplies Authority, pending a case filed by the Kenyan Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union. The orders issued by Employment and Labour Relations Court Judge Ocharo Kibera also restrains Kemsa from sacking their employees pending hearing and determination of the application. The union argues that Kemsa has threatened to undertake mass sacking of its more than 900 staff members. To sports, and Newcastle United have appointed Eddie Howe to succeed Steve Bruce as the Premier League's club head coach. Howe, who has signed the contract until summer 2024, has not been in management since he left Bournemouth in August 2020 following relegation. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refuse to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pomoni maternity hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it
own
up.
money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned it.
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
102.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
Build-up of traffic started in certain parts of the city already, and quite early so. It's building up in certain parts, so we're looking at Jogo Road looking like the one that's going to take a large hit today. Also coming off in Ngongo just a little bit right now, but Uhuru Highway and the Thika Superhighway is where it starts in full force and form this morning. Keeping an eye on things and see what they look like a few minutes after 6 o'clock. Just a dull roar in some parts, but let's see what it builds up to in a short while. All right, how are you helping us out this morning? On Tuesday, we're starting the week with a bang. SpiceFMKE on Twitter, text on 40127. We want to keep things moving as we start the day.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room the only way to start
9
your
minutes
day.
after 6. Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Today is Tuesday. It's the 9th day of November 2021. And we're here for the next 4 hours. God willing, we'll have big conversations with you on what is happening around the country, around the world. Wherever you're tuned in, we're glad that you are tuned in this morning. In the room with you today is Eric Latiff and Ndu Okoh. City Muga is away today. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Yangu is good. Yes. Like good morning, Yako.
Good morning, Yangu is fine, thank you.
Very good. It's fine, thank you.
It's fine, thank you.
It's fine, thank you, isn't it?
You're good?
Yes, I am.
Super.
Just croaking a little bit.
Croaking.
Yes, just like that thing of yours.
These amphibians that now are welcomed.
It's that thing of yours.
Which thing of mine?
That one.
No.
Your croak.
I stayed at home with my croak and I felt better and I came back.
Okay. That's what they say.
Now you tell us where you went and what you did.
That's what they say.
Kiss any frogs lately?
That's what they say. Okay, so let's have this conversations. We'll be having a conversation. We had a conversation a couple of months ago on studying in Japan. And our friends in Japan will be joining us again today. Opportunities for studying in Japan from undergrad to postgrad. What you can do to basically get to study in Japan. So it's an interesting conversation to listen to. Either you want to take advantage of it yourself, or you know somebody who should then also take advantage of this. So study in Japan at 8 o'clock. Let's start with COVID in numbers.
Let's do that. 20 new cases in the country, and this was just yesterday. Very low positivity rate of 0.6%. Probably the lowest that we've seen. Now, you know, before when we looked at 0.9%, this is the lowest that we've seen in the country so far. There's been a struggle to keep the positivity rate low. And look, with the cases that we are finding now on a daily basis, this is pretty good. And 20 new cases, although it's not the lowest number that we've seen, we're seeing a positivity rate of that number. So that's good. All right. In terms of vaccinations, still just under 9 million. The total number of vaccinations that have been, have come into the country. 5.6 million is what we're looking at now in terms of what has been administered. 45.6% have received their second dose. Just 6.8% of the total population having been vaccinated. And we're likely to see not being able to hit that 10 million vaccinations by December. That's what's going on.
6.8 million so far.
5.6 million vaccinated so far. Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't this December, by the way.
December 2021.
No. It wasn't this December. It was a typo.
It was a typo.
It was a typo. They wrote 2021. I know.
They meant to write what?
Yeah, 2022.
Okay.
They meant now, with the new government in 2022, we'll hit 10 million. I think it was a serious typo, that one. Remember, there's a time when there was a typo in our budget. It was just, it's the same kind of thing.
And they added $1 trillion.
Yeah, just the same kind of thing. This was a typo. We're talking about 10 million people by 2022 and about 100,000 people by sometime in 2021. Yeah. So we are way above target for 2021.
Your PR game for the ministry is actually quite impressive, I must say.
Don't worry. Around the world?
Okay, so we're looking at 251,038,774 COVID cases. What we've seen is that indeed there is an increase in some cases, especially in parts of Western Europe. And they're saying, okay, look, it looks as though as you're going, and of course, now look at the weather patterns, right? They're going into winter. The fall season is just coming to an end, going into winter. We're in the bitter cold, and it's already predicted it's going to be one of the coldest years in recent history. And what does that mean? That it's easier for COVID to spread in cooler conditions. And so they're saying, look, we're going into this cold period. Likelihood of us seeing more COVID infections is real. And it doesn't matter whether you've received the COVID vaccine or not, whether it's complete. It just means that, we're just asking folks to be a lot more careful. So you find that here is where you see the booster shots being given. And more countries then are recommending vaccinations for children now under the age of 10. All right. So we're and this is from Western Europe going now towards the continental United States, that as the winter months kick in, we're expecting to see more and more cases of COVID. So there'll probably be an increase in this. It's just something that we need to look out, that they're saying, need to look out for. Okay, so that's what's happening there.
Okay. So let's take a quick break, then take a look at the weather, right? Kenya's biggest conversation is live streaming on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Wherever you are online this morning, say hello. We'll be saying hello to you shortly as we take a look at the newspaper headlines. Oh, yes. And I'll have the day's proverb. Yes. Good morning to you. It's 6:15.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
No, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in Makueni?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, these resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Silvanus Maritim, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Silvanus Maritim, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma nampambia yeye nini? Amalize aende. Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, in Nairobi, cloudy conditions. The sun's going to come out early, though. It's clear in a few minutes. Highs of 27 and lows of 15. Nakuru at 15 degrees, clear. Highs of 28 and lows of 15. 12 will be the low in Nyeri, where it's clear, going to highs of 25 today. Eldoret, clear at 14. Highs of 25 and lows of 13. In Mombasa, partly sunny conditions already. Highs of 32 and lows of 24. And it's going to be sunny in Malindi today, currently at 25. We'll see lows of 24 and highs of 31. Kisumu is cloudy at 19, highs of 31 today, and Kakamega, mostly cloudy conditions at 16. We'll see lows of 15 and highs of 31. Kampala's mostly clear at 19, highs of 28 and lows of 18, and it's sunny in Dar es Salaam at 24 with highs of 32. Johannesburg clear at 11, highs of 23 and lows of 11, while Lagos is mostly clear at 25. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 25. It's raining in Kinshasa this morning at 24. That'll be today's low, going to highs of 33. In Beijing, sunny conditions at 9, going into early afternoon, highs of 10 and lows of 4, and getting cooler and cooler in Western Europe. Paris is clear at 3, highs of 12 and lows of 2. And in London, 12 degrees and cloudy, highs of 16 today. New York, still Monday night, is clear at 13, highs of 17 and lows of 9.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
18 minutes after
Spice
6.
FM.
Good morning to you. So people are online, are they?
Indeed. Their names have even disappeared. The technology today is doing things. Wow. For real.
Names have disappeared.
I'm telling you.
You can just see the messages.
I can see the messages,
but no
I
name.
cannot see the names. So, this is very interesting.
Someone says, why Bubero Mumias? You know who that is.
Good morning, Eric Ndu, listening from the village in Ahero. Okay. Good morning to you. Also listening in from Kisumu. Good morning to you too as well today. Tuned in from Nakuru County. Asante Sana for joining us this morning. Okay, who else can I see that is nameless, at least for now? Good morning. Tuned in from 042. Love tuning in daily. Asante. Good morning from Miami. Okay. I can see Charity's tuned in from Milimani in Nakuru. Tuned in from Palapai in Botswana. Good morning. Umoja Tukondani Naona. Mzee amechorea leo. That cold soda that he drank on Friday did the thing. The Great Wall of Kino is tuned in. And Kisumu Kibos Pamoja. Can't see all your names, but Asante Sana for tuning in this morning. Good morning.
Okay, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. So, Ati, what's happening to that?
I don't know. I don't understand.
Can see message, but can't see name.
Surely.
Some stories.
So now, what are you trying to say?
You just accept, but it's okay.
Accept what?
Accept
and move on, my friend.
Unakubali tu lakini. Can see the message, but I cannot see the name.
I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing.
Okay, today's proverb. Sugarcane. You know sugarcane?
I know sugarcane.
You like the taste of sugarcane?
I do.
All right. Sugarcane is sweetest at its joint. Yes.
It's very hard, the joint.
Exactly. Sugarcane is sweetest at its joint. That thing that you've just said is hard. It's hardest at its joint. Yes.
So if you can get through
that too.
If you can get through to it, it will be sweetest there.
Yes.
Okay, effort.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I see.
That Sugarcane song is playing in your head, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, add mind reader to your
things. Let's take a look at the newspaper headlines, shall we? Remember the Standard e-paper. For 20 bob daily only, you get access to premium content on standardmedia.co.ke. You like Sudoku, you get free Sudoku. You like crossword puzzles, you get free crossword puzzles. You want to do some bit of history? Looking back into the archives of the Standard Media Group, the oldest media archives in the country, you get access. 10 days free. So, only 20 bob. What's in the papers?
Okay, so while this burning of schools is covered across the dailies today, who'll stop the horror of school infernos is what the Standard reports. The burning question. A number of school dormitories have been set ablaze in the last few weeks, with many of the cases being blamed on students' frustration. The fire incidences have led to serious injuries, loss and disrupted learning, and now Kenyans want them stopped. Interior CS Fred Matiang'i and Education's George Magoha must take charge. That's also recorded on The Nation today as the high cost of indiscipline. Parents Association say 35 schools have been affected by fires this term alone. And remember, this term is only 4 weeks old, right?
Yeah.
Just less than 4 weeks, actually. It would be this week. This week, the term is 4 weeks old. Wave of unrest. Parents are slapped with bills amounting to millions of shillings for reconstruction and repair of damaged buildings, while students found culpable face expulsion from school and a permanent criminal tag that will see them rejected in other institutions, bringing their learning to an end, right? Certificate of good conduct is also being denied for students who are implicated, or rather who are found guilty of this. Parents to pay punitive fines to repair and replace destroyed property. Learners to shop for new personal effects. I mean, that's obviously a thing. You can imagine if you were caught up in all of this, everything that you had that you brought to school has been destroyed.
Yeah.
So if you're coming back to school, then you're starting from scratch.
Yep.
Right?
Uniform to everything.
Uniforms, mattresses. You can imagine. Think of what you took to school.
Yep.
Buckets, clothes, everything.
Yep.
And you have to start again. Loss of valuable class time in a tight calendar. The year was already short. The term was already short. 14 weeks reduced to 9, and then being out of school until further notice. The school calendar is not going to stop for you either, right?
Yeah.
So if you're out of school for the next 2 weeks, you're going to have to catch up on your own. Or however long it takes them to reopen schools that have been closed. So you're going to have to catch up, and we're going into a term after which exams will take place, right? At the end of next term, the exams for Class 8 and Form 4 begin. All right? Risk of injury and loss of life. 50-plus students, as an example, from Buruburu girls are still in hospital. Today, in hospital. So here you are, you're going to miss school, you're in hospital, you're unwell, your parents have to pay for whatever happened, and then you also have to heal from personal injury. Permanent criminal record archived by the DCI is what is going to go on for these students. Doesn't matter who they are. And teachers' careers also on the line. This is interesting, this last one, that teachers' careers are on the line as well, because there has been an allegation that teachers are also involved in this and are egging students on to use this as a way to send a message on their behalf to school administrations. I'd like to look a little bit into what The Nation has reported here. And they're saying that the managements of schools have set strict conditions for students to report back. Key among these are fines to cover the cost of repairs. Nicholas Mayo, who is the National Parents Association chairman, said that of the 35 schools that have been affected, each and every one of them, in terms of parents, will have to bear the cost of returning. A number of them have been closed and learners have been sent home. Now you can imagine, everybody has been sent home. Everybody. Yeah. Especially where school buildings have been torched and other property vandalized. Latest institutions to catch the fiery wave include academic giant Miranda High School in Siaya County, which was closed indefinitely yesterday. At Nyangori Boys in Vihiga County, 17 students attempted to burn down their dormitory in the wee hours of Monday morning and are staring at possible expulsion, according to the board. Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha last week had said the government will not pay for damages, as he blamed parents for failure to instill discipline in their children. If we catch those who are bold enough to torch a building, their parents will rebuild that building. The government will not pay a penny. Yesterday, the CS attributed the indiscipline to the privileges the 2010 Constitution grants children. He has in the past attracted condemnation and praise in equal measure for calling for a return to corporate punishment. We shall not handle children with kiddie gloves. Anyone who is caught planning to burn a school building will not go to any other public school in the country.
Good.
This is what he said at Machakos School. Kenya Secondary School Heads Association Chairman Kayim Dimuli, who is also the Machakos School principal, had recommended that teachers be allowed to punish unruly students. Apart from paying for the damages to school property, some parents will also have to shop for new personal effects for their children lost in the fires. Curiously, most of the fires have targeted dormitories, so you can imagine all your stuff is in the dormitory, right? Over the last weekend, more school property was lost when dormitories at Kakamega High School and Baikini Boys High School in Machakos County were set on fire. We're looking at Buruburu Girls Secondary School, Nairobi. Form 3 and Form 4 learners reopened yesterday after the fire that took place a couple of weeks ago. Form 1s and Form 2s will report back today. Each learner will be expected to pay 1,500 shillings on top of clearing any fee arrears that they might have.
You see, then it also goes on now to start bringing the whole conversation about boarding schools again. I see Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya saying the Ministry of Education ought to consider abolishing boarding schools as earlier recommended by Wilson Sossion. Kakamega Woman Rep Elsie Muhanda has echoed these sentiments, saying let's also abolish boarding schools. We are quick to look for other things to blame. But even this whole conversation about indiscipline, are we really saying that, yes, let's accept that there's something that is happening here? There's something that's happening in terms of discipline. If we talk about, let's say, the case of Buruburu, okay? Are we seeing the parents of Buruburu coming out to speak and saying, it's emerging from speaking to our students, to our children, these were the organizers? Or any of the schools. When the children go home, the parents obviously interrogate them. So what happened?
I'm sure without a doubt they've
How
told
did it
their
start?
parents. Yeah.
Do you know who the ringleaders were? Do we hear conversations about the ringleaders? Or do we also just do not want to, muddy the waters by saying, so-and-so's child or the student called so-and-so was involved?
Well, I don't.
We always just want to run away from it.
Sure.
So you hear that, in this school, there's a student who joined the school and apparently it is said that he had been expelled from another school. And you hear this and yes, these heads. We keep quiet about it.
I'm sure without a doubt that, look, you think about it. Your child returns home and this was the issue that happened. You are going to have a conversation with them.
Yes.
You're going to ask them, what exactly happened? Even if you were not involved, you must know who was.
Who
you
was.
must have heard the chatter in terms of who was saying what. We do know that 2 students were arraigned in court yesterday from Buruburu High, right?
Yep.
Now, in terms of who else may have been, I agree completely that it's the whole thing of I'm going to protect my turf. My child will not be named adversely.
Yep.
Even if I know anything else, until and unless I'm in a safe space when I'm talking about this, I'm not going to share that information. So I'll do. They want me to pay 1,500. I'll pay the 1,500.
And should the head or anyone in the school dare come and tell you that your child was involved?
No.
My child was not involved. No. My child must have been influenced. My child is being...
Very few parents will you find who are told that their children were involved in this will then take culpability for their child.
Yes.
Very, very few. You can count them on one hand, probably countrywide, who will fess up and say, yes, my child was involved, they must be punished.
Yeah.
Everybody else.
The first thing that you're going to do is say, no.
You will cover up.
In fact, we hear, my child has been telling me about this teacher for a very long time.
And you know what, Eric? It doesn't matter, looking at it, because all the reasons as to why this may have happened, improper channels, indiscipline, whatever, it doesn't matter. Parents will cover their children first.
Yes. This is where we are. When I say indiscipline myself, by the way, I don't mean the children. I mean the society is indisciplined. What we are seeing with the children is a manifestation of the indiscipline that we have in our society. That's what it is. That's what it is. Let's take a break. It's 28 minutes to 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Yes, indeed. I can actually now see what you're saying. So there's something about Facebook. It's not showing us who's commenting. But Twitter is behaving well.
Indeed.
This is funny. Let's take this quick break, take a look at the traffic. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Follow your dreams to the land of the rising sun with a host of academic opportunities to pursue your undergraduate and postgraduate studies in Japan's leading universities. Visit www.studyinjapan-africa.com to find out how you can enroll to the program.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
Yeah! You're listening to Spice FM. Spice FM, Malindi.
The Southern Bypass is looking pretty good this morning. Are you getting off Mombasa Road using Southern Bypass? Well, today, at this point, it doesn't really look like it matters because you can stick onto Mombasa Road and not have an issue, except when you get towards Uhuru Highway. Then that whole South Sea area, then just past Bellevue, heading out just past Capital Centre, there's an issue, and it's in and outbound there. There's already traffic building up there, quite significant. Also on Langata Road, some traffic there as well. The Maradaima turnoff, where they're still working on that road, also has a bit of an issue. Jogger Road, jam-packed already. This is all the way from the junction at Donholm, then spilling onto Jogger Road, out towards Makadara train station, and then towards the City Stadium roundabout. Traffic has already started to build up there, and it ain't pretty, folks. Where else is it? Chock-a-blocks, we're already looking at the Thika Superhighway, and that has started, and it's inching further back slowly towards Survey. It's building up on Kiambu Road as well. Today, for first time in a while, coming out of Westlands at 6:30, not too much traffic. So you can get in and out of Westlands without too much of headache, but you know it's going to build up, so you might want to plan ahead if you haven't left yet. And use what? Use the Red Hill Link Road. That'll help you out of Westlands without too much of an issue into the city or wherever else you may be going thereafter. Let's talk in a bit. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. What do we want to do? We want to keep things moving this Tuesday.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right, it's
94.4
25
Spice.
minutes to 7. So this is Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. Blow for Sonko as Supreme Court clears the way for Kananu's swearing in. Who is Mike Sonko? He is the former governor of Nairobi. Who is Anne Kananu? Is up to this morning the deputy governor of Nairobi, and soon could rise to the position of governor. Kananu will become the first female governor of the capital city and is allowed to appoint a deputy for the remainder of the term. She has since declared her intention to vie for the seat in next year's election. Sonko wanted the Supreme Court to order the Committee on Assumption of Office to put on hold its plans of swearing in Ms. Kananu pending determination of his case against the Court of Appeal's decision to disallow his return to office. But the Supreme Court said it does not have the powers to deal with these issues raised by the former governor, meaning Sonko has now exhausted all legal mechanisms of returning to City Hall. The 5-judge bench chaired by Mohammed Ibrahim said Sonko's application was prematurely before the court. Technicality, basically, that's what has kicked him out. And now Nairobi is going to have Anne Kananu as governor.
Mm-hmm. Supreme Court
She should
says,
pick a woman as her deputy.
As a deputy?
Yes.
Okay.
Twende tukienda.
Kaende.
Yes.
It's interesting. I saw that the Supreme Court says, you know what? We everything that you can possibly use has been exhausted. We don't find that there's anything upon which we would adjudicate beyond this point.
Yeah.
All your avenues have been exhausted. There is no recourse that you can take after that. You know, basically letting you know, my friend. I just thought that was really interesting that they basically told him, this is the end of the road, man. Beyond this, we can't do anything. So let's just move on with this story.
Yep. You see, the issue here was that Sonko has gone to the Supreme Court before the Court of Appeal has actually delivered a judgment.
A judgment, a ruling, yeah.
So the Supreme Court is saying, so now what do you want us to look at? Because if you were bringing it up here, you're appealing the decision of the Court of Appeal.
And they have
what
given
is
a
the decision of the Court of Appeal?
So you
That's what
sidestep
Justice
the
Ibrahim
process.
said. Without substantive determination and in the absence of a judgment of the Court of Appeal, this application is premature. Siungoje basi.
Wait for the Court of Appeal to tell us what they've said. And if you are not satisfied, who knows? You may have been satisfied with what the Court of Appeal judgment was. But here you are, you've jumped a step. So now...
it's prematurely before us.
Speaking of courts, the court has halted the takeover of Kemsa by the military. Is this...
Court has halted that?
Is this another
election campaign or what?
The Labour Court yesterday halted a decision by the Kemsa board to lay over to lay off over 900 staff and enlist the NYS and Kenya Defence Forces to oversee operations of the agency. Justice Kebiria Ocharo said the order would remain in force pending hearing and determination of an application filed by the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union. Hearing was fixed for November the 16th. The medics want the court to find the decision of the Kemsa board to enlist the services of the KDF officers and the National Youth Service illegal. The suit follows reports that KDF officers on Monday took over the Kemsa headquarters just days after Kemsa board chairperson Mary Mwandime announced that the agency staff had been sent home to pave the way for restructuring. The staff were informed that the parastatal had run out of funds amid other procurement challenges. The union suit is the second case to be filed against the changes at Kemsa. The first case was filed on Friday by Nakuru-based Dr. Mageri Gikenyi Benjamin. In his court papers, KMPDU says the Kemsa board, together with the Health Ministry and the Attorney General, breached the constitution by deploying the military. Through lawyer Henry Kurauka, the union says in the absence of an emergency or a disaster, the deployment of the NYS servicemen and military is unlawful. There's no disaster, there is no emergency. Why deploy them? It also wants the court to intervene because the staff of the national drug supplier are facing unfair and unjust termination of their employment without being subjected to the due process. The military officers are set to manage the Kemsa's commodities program, which is funded by USAID.
Huku haya yakijiri, at least 40 military officers reported to Kemsa yesterday and joined the team that had reported from NYS. The deployed military officers will take over the roles of co-directors. Though NYS officers are also present, their roles are not clear. So now court is telling them, go back to the barracks. Tough luck.
Leave. You hear, until we hear this, you have no business being here.
Tough luck.
Question is, will they now bring back these 900 staff that were sent home? Because it's a double issue in the case. That military NYS, we're not asking you to be here.
So what status quo are we going back to? Are we going back to status quo of the board sending them home or before the board sending them home?
So you're going to reinstate them in the meantime until the case is heard?
The issue of deployment of the military, though, is getting some serious flack. Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui says involving the military in civilian operations may have far-reaching effects. He says the cost of healthcare is high because of bottlenecks in procurement, and since health is a devolved function, the COG should be looped in to seek a lasting solution, considering there's too much conflict of interest in the system anyway. The Senator for Narok, Ledama Olekina, has also come out to say, no. This is not the way to go. He says, if Kenya is not a military state, we should take lessons from what's happening in Ethiopia. He's opposing the deployment of the military to civilian operations. Oh, there's something happening here, so send the military. Send the military there.
Soon it will become MO.
Yeah.
That
who said that the
military
military is the solution?
Yeah. One size fits all kind of band-aid.
Yeah.
Something is not going right. Mismanagement of funds. Abuse of office.
Bring in the military.
Anything. Restructuring, bring in the military. Handle this project, bring in the military.
What about when things are not working in the military?
Or how about then you put it in the minds of the military that they are the be-all and end-all for everything? And
so,
do you know what that does in terms of feeding in a power narrative into the minds of the military?
Yeah, when they feel that things are not going well.
They'll say, okay, you've been giving us the power all this time, so now let's take it. Possibility of that happening. It's happened before. Look at Pakistan.
Turkey.
Look at Egypt. Look at Turkey. It's happened before.
Yeah.
Right?
Just roll in and take over for a while as we sort these things out. Look at Sudan.
Yeah.
We have issues here with the transitional government. So, in fact, let's do this. Let's take over for a while, calm things down, bring some order and sanity, and then we shall... this is... it's not necessarily the way to go.
Indeed.
One more story before we take a break.
Oh, you wanted to... Or me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, here it is.
Let me do this one then.
Okay.
Kenyans in arid and semi-arid lands will receive a stipend of 3,000 shillings per household and 2,000 shillings per individual from the government beginning next month.
How much?
3,000 per household, 2,000 per individual, instead of food rations. The cash transfers will target 369,000 vulnerable households and 734,000 individuals and will be disbursed every 2 months. So every 2 months, you as an individual in a hunger area will be receiving 2,000 bob. That's a G a month. Okay? Buy food, buy water, buy everything, even for your animals. Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs CS Margaret Kobia says the shift in policy is intended to increase efficiency and accountability. I'm happy to report that arising from today's meeting, development partners have agreed to support government efforts to mobilize resources to address gaps in drought response and resilience building in the ASALs. She said data and phone details of intended recipients have already been captured in a registry. Those who don't have cell phones will be facilitated by their chiefs, with whom the county governments will be coordinating the program. We will not be distributing new food from December, only what we had already purchased. The CS said the national government has provided 1.5 billion as part of the measures to assist the affected households. 2.5 million people in 23 ASAL countries are facing starvation. It's also disbursed 450 million to Kenya Defence Forces for livestock offtake, purchase and distribution of livestock feeds. About 350 million who was allocated to the Ministry of Water and Sanitation for water tracking. 500 million was given to the National Disaster Management Authority for drought emergency response in non-food interventions. Kobia said 12 counties are now on the verge of sliding from alert to alarm phase. They include Garissa, Isiolo, Lamu, Mandera, Marsabit, Tana River, Turkana and Wajir. Do you remember when the president declared this a national disaster? It's been more than a month.
Yeah.
It happened in September. We are in November. That's when the president declared the ongoing drought affecting the north of the country a national disaster. We are talking about people starting to receive cash next month.
Yeah.
This
is how you deal with disasters.
So
then
this military then,
yeah.
if the military is doing all these things, yes, they've been given money to do offtake. Remember the way I was telling you? Kenya Meat Commission. The strategic part of Kenya Meat Commission is to do these kind of things.
Yes.
Offtake, go to KMC. How much money do they have? They have been given 450 million shillings. Why don't you, if then they're the ones who are doing very well, why don't you use them for distribution of the food and all these things immediately? Why do we have to do next month?
In a disaster situation.
It's a national disaster. And then you're here saying, by the way, some of these counties are on the verge of moving from alert to alarm. What are you talking about? It's the same thing that the president was saying when he was told in September, declare this thing a national disaster. Why? Because you're soon moving to
a situation. When the question is, when the rubber meets the road, why are these decisions then so difficult to make? And I keep saying, these are human beings in the boundaries of this country who are suffering today.
Yes.
Their livelihood is flashing before them every minute. That they don't have water to drink, they don't have water to use, they don't have food to eat. And it's across board. Men, women, children, young, old,
and we are talking
sick.
about half of the counties in Kenya.
In the country.
23 counties out of 47 are in this situation. And the country is not even focusing about that.
No.
We are talking about kicking Ruto out of Jubilee. We are talking about, I don't know, doing what. Those guys, where are they?
It's okay, we'll give them 1,000.
We are doing voter registration. We'll give them 1,000 shillings. From next month, we have asked the donors.
December.
They have agreed to help us. They'll bring money. From next month, we're going to be sending them 1,000 shillings. And we know the people who need this. Those who don't have mobile phones will be sending money to their chiefs.
The chief will go and give them. Good luck. What a mess. How you handle your most vulnerable really shows how you're handling the country. At any one time, you're most vulnerable in the country. How you handle them. The sick, the poor, those who are disadvantaged because of geographical or geological issues.
Yes.
How you handle them really shows the handle that you have on the country. Nothing else. Leave all these grand things that we're talking about, global meetings, we're talking about debt, etc. How you handle the weakest in your society is the measure of the handle that you have on things. Nothing else. You can speak English from here until tomorrow.
Yeah.
By your deeds.
We shall know you. It's 12 minutes to 7. Time for a quick break, and then we look at more headlines.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, tell me what you're looking at.
Okay, so defiled pregnant infected with HIV. This is a bit of a worrying story. Out of 10 girls aged 10 to 19 in Bomet County, 4 fell pregnant in 2021. So let's give you this number again. 40% of the girls between the ages of 10 and 19 in Bomet County in the last 11 months are pregnant. Perspective?
It's a very high number.
Very high number. The county was also leading in teenage pregnancies, going by data from the National Council for Population and Development. I remember when that first alarming story came out after COVID, and we saw that hundreds of thousands of girls around the country then had been pregnant during this time period because of reason 1, 2, 3. But this is a little bit more dizzying. Teenage girls in Kenya face the triple threat of violation, pregnancy, and being infected with HIV, according to new data. And the number of 10 to 19-year-olds falling pregnant in Kenya is still alarmingly high. Out of 10 girls aged 10 to 19 in Bomet County, 4 fell pregnant in 2021. The county was also leading in teenage pregnancies, going by data from the National Council for Population and Development. The data released yesterday reveals that 17 counties have this year recorded an increase in adolescent pregnancy. Mandera came second with 32%, followed by Kisii County, Nyandarua, Baringo, Kakamega, Kitui, Migori, and Kirinyaga. A monthly trend analysis on the teenagers at antenatal clinics indicates a 15% increase in the numbers for adolescents between 10 to 14 and 15 to 19. In Kenya's history, 2018 recorded the highest number of teenage pregnancies at 427,135. By September this year, 23,117 girls between the age of 10 and 19 were pregnant. In the last 5 years, the figures had remained unchanged, and it looks like there is nothing happening in the country to reduce the numbers. The figures are derived from clinic visits, meaning the number could be higher, given that some teenagers do not attend clinic when they are expectant. This is even as the same age group recorded 5,429, 92 HIV new infections and 1,472 HIV-related deaths between January and October this year. So we're looking at current statistics.
That's a very, very high number. Just one county, 40% of its adolescents are pregnant.
Yes.
That's a very high
very
number.
high number. Very, very high.
And this is between when and when again?
January and October 2021.
So it's not about being out of school.
No, it isn't. Because they were out of school 2 years ago. A year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So, currently pregnant.
That's a very high number.
Yes,
No.
it is. One out of, so look at it like this.
So the National Council for Population and Development, how is it gathering this data?
From antenatal visits.
From
in
antenatal
hospital.
visits
And
in
to-
hospitals.
yes.
And of course, it's not
And clinics.
everybody.
Exactly.
It's not every
And they're saying it could
adolescent
be
who
more.
is going.
Yes. And it's very unlikely that you're going to go and record false information when you go for an antenatal visit.
Yep.
So there are many more who don't go to hospital for antenatal visits. They wait until they're giving birth and that's it. These are the ones who are presenting themselves with their information in hospital and clinics. Bomet County, 1 out of every 4 girls between the age of 10 and 19 are pregnant or have been pregnant this year.
Aye, that's a very high number.
It's very,
That's
very
a-
high. I guess,
Good
yeah,
Lord.
the shock is quite something. According to Mohammed Sheikh, who is the Director General, said the slogan has always been no motherhood in childhood. When you look at the ratio of maternal mortality, it is twice as high in teenage girls compared to the women of reproductive age. Complications is one of the factors leading to the deaths because they are not well developed to give birth. So the body is still developing at this age, right? And so then now you're putting the burden of childbearing and birth on them, and it's not good. Kenya is among the countries with the highest burden of teenage pregnancy and motherhood. And 1 in every teenage girl in Kenya, aged between 10 and 19, is either pregnant or has given birth to her first child.
Aye.
The prevalence has not changed since 2008. This has been the
This has been the
constant
trend.
situation for 13 years.
Oh, it's been the trend. My goodness.
Hey. So you imagine in
Okay.
2018 you had 500,000
It says something about
girls
it
pregnant.
says something about Bomet.
Yeah.
Okay? Because this is not the issue. This is not issues of defilement or these kind of things. It's issues that are accepted in society.
The majority of the cases are not defilement cases.
Yeah.
There are a few, from what this says, there are a few
There are a few that will be
would be
defilements.
attributed to that. But the
But
majority,
the majority
are
are not.
No.
It's something that is accepted, widely accepted in Bomet that, at this point you'll get into a relationship, you'll get pregnant.
Either that or issues of family planning or protection are not discussed.
Yeah. No, it's just expected that, you're at that age, you have met a boy, okay, you got pregnant, okay.
No biggie.
Yeah, no biggie. What's a big issue? Hey, now, we've been talking about a lawyer. So, remember the story of terror suspect.
Yes.
Terror suspect is taken to court. Is represented by a lawyer, Professor Hassan Nandwa. Terror suspect is convicted. Terror suspect is jailed. Terror suspect is released. Terror suspect is picked, not suspect anymore. Terror convict is picked from a committee maximum prison by the mother. Terror convict comes with the mother to town. Terror convict is then grabbed by some people in the middle of town. Terror convict's lawyer is also grabbed by some people somewhere, and the mother. Terror convict's mother is released. Terror convict is missing. Terror convict's lawyer is missing. Yesterday, terror convict's lawyer appears. Professor Hassan Nandwa, the lawyer who vanished 11 days ago, was dumped by his captors who are suspected to be state security agents in Mwingi, Kitui County, in the wee hours of yesterday morning. Professor Nandwa's family confirmed that he was dumped in Mwingi at 1 a.m. The Muslim scholar then walked to his relative's home in Mwingi and is yet to speak to anyone about his ordeal. He represented terror convict Elgiva Bwire, who is also missing. Bwire was freed from committee maximum prison on the 28th of October after serving 10 years for a terror attack, but he was abducted alongside his cousin on their way to Isli. They have not been seen since. Speaking from Mwingi, Emilkad Hassan, the lawyer's son, said his father had no visible signs of physical torture, but is very shaken and traumatized. He's not yet ready to talk to anyone. Abu Ayman, the Jamia Mosque spokesperson, expressed relief after the lawyers found his disappearance. So many civil society groups as well as the LSK put pressure on the government to release the lawyer. Now, LSK has dispatched a lawyer to Mwingi to assist Professor Nandwa. He reportedly is weak, fearful, and has likely been threatened not to speak to anyone. Not the first time. Remember, there was also another scholar who was picked up on the streets of Nairobi a couple of weeks, went missing, was released, not said a word. What happened to you? Who arrested you?
Can't.
I'm not talking about that story.
Either so traumatic or
I am
threatened
not
to
talking.
the point of silence.
Yes, I am not talking about that.
Yeah.
Professor Nandwa, released yesterday, walks to a relative's home at 1 a.m. in Mwingi. Not talking. What's happening? In the meantime, police have continued to dilly-dally in a court petition where families of 5 abducted men have demanded that law enforcers produce their kin, dead or alive. On Monday, High Court Judge Justice Florence Mushemi heard that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and the IG of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, are yet to file their response to a habeas corpus application seeking to produce the missing men before court. The application, which was presented before the High Court in July, requires the missing men allegedly under arrest to be brought before the judge. Isaac Mwangi, Bernard Wanjohi, Samuel Ngasha, Wilson Wairimo, and Elijah Karimi have been missing since June, and their families say they were kidnapped in broad daylight in separate incidents in a manner of state operations. The IG has not responded to this, has not said, all right, I have the habeas, I'm producing the corpus, nothing.
I'm producing the corpus, nothing. And it would appear that come Friday, there's a group that's going to lobby in the streets about these disappearances because they've just become too much. And by the time folks are saying, produce my kin or produce my whomever, it doesn't matter whether they're dead or alive. I just want to know where they are. If they have done something wrong, charge them. Let us know that they're in the system and there's something being done. But we don't know where they are. You have not brought any charge against them. It is seen that they have been arrested by you, said police. We don't know where they've disappeared to. So
imagine
they've said, you know what? Human rights agencies have challenged the government to come clean on the rising cases of abduction. Just stop it. Because
it won't happen. It won't end, though. Anyway, let's continue these conversations into the next hour. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Supreme Court judges are expected to meet at 9 a.m. this morning to identify and give directions to appeals filed against the dismissal of the BBI. The appeals were filed by the Attorney General and the IEBC. The court will decide whether the three judges will withdraw from the hearing at the request of Isaac Aluchir. 9 students from various schools in Nyeri County have been detained at the Nyeri police station after being arraigned on charges of possession of equipment believed to have been used to set fire to the schools. 3 from Kagumo High School and 6 from Kiandu High School were not charged for lacking legal representation. However, the judge has asked the prosecutor to find lawyers for the suspect so that the case can start. After finding a lawyer, the two will return to court on the 10th of this month. Now, as the country continues to witness numerous arson cases in schools, the government has announced that students who burn down schools will not receive certificates of good conduct. Education CS Sarah Ruto and PS Julius Juan have announced that the students who burn the schools will be treated as criminals. Speaking at Mauta Primary School in Betasat County, Juan said the students will be arrested and charged in court. He reiterated that the government will not compensate for any losses caused by students who burn down schools, and instead, parents will shoulder the burden.
I think I want to make this very clear. Burning is a criminal act. Destroying property is a criminal act. It doesn't matter the age of a learner. If you decide to burn and destroy property, you'll be declared a criminal. And therefore, with the burning that is going on currently, we are requesting and asking the security officers to make sure they conduct thorough investigations and the learners responsible prosecuted.
Now, former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has said that he has accepted the decision and conceded defeat following the Supreme Court verdict that dismissed an appeal case he filed seeking to stop Kananu from being sworn in as Nairobi County Governor. Taking to social media, he expressed his regards to Nairobi residents for electing him to office, saying he hoped for another opportunity to serve the public. He thanks Nairobi residents for the opportunity, adding that he will continue doing so. The ruling by the Supreme Court drove the last nail on the coffin for Sonko's persistent push to challenge his removal from office. Nairobi residents now await Kananu's swearing in as the Nairobi governor. The Muslim community has vowed to stage demonstrations every Friday to protest what their leaders describe as enforced disappearance and extrajudicial killings, mainly targeting Muslims accused of terror links. Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims Chairman Alhaj Hassan Olinado said The community has been unfairly targeted by security forces, particularly the Anti-terrorism police unit, which often detained suspects incommunicado. In Nairobi, they plan to hold rallies outside Jamia Mosque with a similar program lined up in Mombasa's Makadara grounds.
Kidnapping, murder, forced disappearances, that is terrorism. And anybody who in their mind thinks that you can terrorize people in your perceived fight against terrorism is really mistaken.
Starting this Friday, we are calling upon all Muslims around the country to embark on rallies after Friday prayers to protest these gross injustices. In Nairobi, a rally will be held outside Jamia Mosque after Friday prayers, and a similar program will be held at Makadara grounds in Mombasa.
Deputy President William Ruto is expected to return to Nyanza today for a 3-day visit as he continues to sell his bottom-up model and his UDA party ahead of the 2022 general elections. This will be the second time in less than 2 months for Ruto to visit Luo Nyanza areas and especially Migori County, where he promised to work with Migori Governor Okoh in the presidential race. Ruto will visit Kisumu, Homa Bay and Migori counties. Organizers of the rallies, led by Raila Odinga's former aide Eliud Owalo, expressed confidence that Ruto's rallies will be successful as he was expected to address residents of Kondele. And athletes have called for an end to gender-based violence as a series of Athletics Kenya Consultative Fora kicked off in Ngong, Kajiado County. AK will pitch tents in 14 stations across the country, with initiatives seeking to help athletes raise issues affecting their careers and social lives. AK executive member Barnaba Korir explained the move by the federation to seek audience from the athletes. This coming in the wake of unfortunate turn of events where athletics fraternity in the country was hit hard following the demise of 3 athletes last month. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay, a couple of minutes after 7 o'clock, and we're already looking at traffic along. Okay, so let's just take it step by step, yeah? Uhuru Highway, then you get to that junction of Langata Road and Lusaka Road. That's an absolute mess. Then going towards Bunyala Road at the roundabout, there's some traffic feeding off from Aerodrome, and then going a little bit further as then you connect at Haile Selassie, and then towards Kenyatta Avenue, and then out towards, all the way through to Westlands, coming out of State House. There, we have some issues this morning. Langata Road is also packed as well. Jogger Road is an absolute mess. Started very, very early this morning, feeding off from the Donholm interchange. Today, the Thika Superhighway is jam-packed all the way to Outer Ring, moving very, very slowly today. For the first time in a while, we're bumper to bumper on the Thika Superhighway, coming off of Kiambu Road as well. That has piled up some. Limuru Road got the memo and said, let's join in this traffic nonsense. That's happening every day, and she has done so with flying colours this morning. So what's the thing? Can you avoid all these roads? There's a way. Use the bypasses. Southern, Eastern, Link Road coming out of Westlands, Northern, those are options. Outer Ring, it's going to be slower getting into the city, but you're not going to be stuck in all this other madness. Think about it, guys. It will actually work. And then you can talk to us on SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127. Let's keep things moving a few minutes after 7 o'clock.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up,
7 after 7.
not down.
Good morning. How are
This
you doing?
is the-
It's the 9th day of November 2021. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. This morning is Eric Latiff and Ndu Okoh. City Muga took some soda, cold soda, last week. But before that, he had sat next to Ndu.
Stop it. I will not bear the brunt of this negative propaganda.
So now, the effect of all that combined, I've basically told City, chill, relax. Don't exercise your throat muscles or anything else apart from swallowing. Yes. So now, I have the day's proverb.
Okay.
Sugarcane is sweetest at its joint. Sugarcane is sweetest at its joint.
It's a lot of work to get to that joint, though.
Yes. Yes.
Where is this proverb from?
This one? It's a Kenyan proverb.
What's the word for sugarcane in Kiswahili?
Miwa.
Right, that's what I was trying to
Mua.
Miwa. Miwa.
Yes.
Okay. Miwa
Sugarcane
in Yoruba
is-
means me, come.
Miwa
I
means
come.
me come.
Me, wa. Wa is come. Anyway,
Yeah, so. And Mua means what?
I don't know.
They don't have it?
No.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking at the Twitter handle for Professor Margaret Kobia, PhD, MGH. She's the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, Gender, Senior Citizens Affairs, and Special Programs. Remember, she was added some of these roles just the other day. Senior Citizens Affairs and Special Programs yanked from Labour and brought to this particular ministry of,
all these other things.
all these other things. It also, and special programs also comes here.
Yes.
And the issue of assaults was removed from devolution and brought here with the special programs. Okay. So Professor Margaret Kobia is now the person who is in charge of addressing the current emergencies in the country. One of them that has been declared by the president as a national disaster is the ongoing drought situation countrywide that has left very many people in dire need of food. According to Professor Margaret Kobia, she says, I've been scrolling as I talk. We are experiencing drought in 23 counties within the arid and semi-arid lands. So far, the government has spent 2 billion shillings. 1.2 billion has been spent on food distribution to 2.5 million people. So the government is basically saying that we need to feed 2.5 million people who are unable to feed themselves today in 23 counties. Now, just do the math. 47 divided by 2 is 23 and a half.
Yes.
Half of the country's counties are experiencing drought situation. Okay? Now, because these counties are in the ASAL, they are also big by landmass. That tells you that at least 50% of Kenya's landmass is experiencing drought.
Yes.
Here we are. What have we been talking about lately? Everything else but focusing on this. So yesterday, Professor Margaret Kobia held a consultative meeting with development partners working in the arid and semi-arid land sector working group to apprise them of the drought situation in the country. Now, this is a thread on Twitter. It's a statement that basically she was releasing. She says she was grateful that the development partners have agreed to support the government efforts to mobilize resources to address the gaps in drought response and resilience building in the ASALs. Going forward, the government is shifting policy from distribution of food to cash transfer for efficiency and accountability in addressing the situation. I'd like to assure the public that the government is focused on the right trajectory towards winning the war against the impact of this drought. That is what the minister in charge is saying.
Okay.
And this distribution will begin from next month, a story that is even further covered in The Nation this morning. From next month, Kenyans in these areas will receive a stipend of 2,000 shillings per individual and 3,000 shillings per household beginning next month. A lot of this money will come from development partners. How much has the government spent? 2 billion shillings. How much is the projected budget to address this drought situation going into early next year? Over 6 billion shillings. We've only done what? A third. The rest we're telling our people, please, simtusaidie na kakitu kidogo, tupatie watu wakule.
What happens after the 6 billion is used?
So you first start by raising the 6 billion. You're going so far.
Yes.
You're like Sonko going to the Supreme Court before the Court of Appeal has done its job.
No. You know why I'm asking that
So let's
question?
assume that the 6 billion has been raised.
You know why I'm asking that question? This drought situation did not start today. It did not start this year. A drought situation has probably gotten worse or better in these particular areas over the last 2 decades. This has been the situation. So much so that early warning systems are actually able to tell you that this is what it's going to look like. There'll be little to no rainfall because of these are asshole regions.
Yep.
There'll be little to no rainfall. We'll not
There'll
be
be
able to grow
locusts.
food. There will be locusts. We'll not be able to feed animals. We will not be able to sell livestock. And a lot of times, livestock is not actually sold because for a lot of these folks, it is their wealth hold, right? So you know that very little food can be grown in this area and harvested that can actually yield something. You are already aware of this. So in as much as it helps, because right now something is needed for folks to be able to eat on a daily basis. But what I would like to hear, and I think what is extremely important, is what are we going to do in terms of mid to long-term solutions to these problems that next year this time we will still be talking about this same thing, and there will be a look towards development partners to actually have these things done. It's going to happen again. It's not the last time you're going to hear this thing. Next year, this time, you'll also be hearing, we are looking to our development partners to be able to assist us so that we can feed our people. It is an emergency and it is a disaster. But you know what? In the same time, it is not an emergency. Why? You were told. You know the volatility of the region. You know what is likely to happen when there is little to no rainfall. This is in Kenya. It is not outside the country. It is in Kenya. It has happened before. These are patterns. What does a pattern do? It forms a certain way. So you know that this is what is going to happen. And you have people who have set up in the area, Kenyan companies, Kenyan organizations, another organization mandated by the government for this very same thing, who are able to tell you, this is what we are likely to see in the next few months. We should plan for it. Okay, put that one aside. You already know the geographical situation within which you are set up. How about putting in place certain things that is going to guarantee that even with little to no rainfall, people will not die of hunger? It doesn't mean that there will be no famine or drought. It means that people will not suffer from lack of food. I would like to see mid to long-term plans, implemented plans that will make sure that you circumvent this situation again. It is a shame. It is a big shame to see some of the pictures that we saw yesterday in the papers, for example. Livestock dying, somebody sitting there. You don't know this water that's being provided by organizations. Do I wash and give my children to drink, or do I give my animals? Can you imagine?
You're looking for mid to long term. You're looking for mid to long term?
Yes.
I will tell you, I am looking for the immediate.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's very important. The immediate. Feed them today.
The answer to everything that you're asking is contained in the immediate. Mid to long term, Ndu. Proper papers and all have been done. Mid to long term was done a long time ago for the long term. The answer to why the mid to long term that was put together so many years ago has not been implemented is in the immediate. Look at the response now. That shows you the thinking. For as long as we're talking about, okay, so 2 billion shillings was set aside by the government, 1.2 billion shillings for food and the other money for livestock offtake and to support the other areas. how much of that has actually gone to the ground. There's a photo this morning on The Nation. A herd of livestock at Koreni in Lamu County. Pastoralists in the county are lamenting over delayed implementation of slaughter and destocking programs to cushion them against losses occasioned by drought. This is a photo here of one cow that cannot even stand. It is so emaciated. It's in a cattle dip, but it can't even stand. You saw the photos yesterday in the Standard as well. Carcasses all over. Livestock dead. You are seeing photos and concerns. People don't have access to water. People don't have access to food today. You are seeing the rollout of the plan. The president declared this a national disaster in September. The National Drought National Drought Management Authority had already started warning about what's likely to happen from March at the beginning of the year. It was already there. It needed to get to a certain level before the president then declares it a national disaster. But by then, there should have been programs in place. There were none. Many months, because these are many months, September, October, we are in November, after the president said this is a national disaster, we are yet to mobilize the adequate resources required to feed the people, to offtake the livestock. You're looking for the long term? The answer is in the now. The way the now is being handled will tell you that that's exactly the same way the long term will be handled.
There's no interest.
Long term to this is 100 years.
There's no interest.
That's why immediate in government, the immediate issue is from next month, we are hoping to start distributing 1,000 shillings to individuals and 3,000 shillings to households. By next month, will that 1,000 shillings be worth what it is worth today? What it was worth in September?
Of course not. Of course not.
The issue of government taking food. Why was the government taking food in the first place? Last year, when we were dealing with COVID, and we talked about supporting system in the social protection program, the government itself, led by the president, said, we have learnt our lessons from past experience. We shall no longer be wasting a lot of money on distributing and tracking food. We shall be sending people money to buy food, because we have realized that we end up spending a huge part of our budget on warehousing, buying gunias, packing in food in gunias, putting food in trucks, transporting that food on the trucks from Nairobi, taking it to those areas. A lot of that money is spent on these administrative aspects instead of it going to benefit the people. Why was, the president declared this a national disaster, why was 1.2 billion shillings spent buying food to truck to people? It's the mindset of the government. You ask yourself, so are you the same government that was dealing with this? It's the same State Department that was dealing with food issues last year, COVID. Same State Department that said we are not going to buy food and track to people is the same State Department that's buying food this year, tracking to people. What? You explain to me, because I'm lost.
It's good to show upset. It's good, because that's actually what it ought to be. Because when you see things going out of whack in the way in which they are, then to me, it reeks of one that really actually doesn't care. This is a stopgap measure to maybe, as they say, you want to remove the shame from your eye a little bit and sort out the issue before it becomes. But this is what I'm saying, Eric. So you feed people, you give them 1,000 shillings every month for however long. Does it say in terms of how long it's going to take? Does it say? Is there a timeline on this, or is it forever?
No, until the situation improves. You know what situation improves means?
There's a little bit of rain here and then...
Because we are likely not to have sufficient short rains in December, this will persist until after the long rains of March.
This is what I'm saying. So then the long rains will come in March, and then we're going to forget about all of this, and then they will cease again, and then come September, October, we're going to go back into this cycle. And there's got to be a way to break this chain. There has to be a way to break this chain, because it is glaring, and what you're definitely, without a doubt, you're telling people how you regard them. Governance is not over some inanimate objects. Leadership is not over some stones sitting somewhere. Leadership and governance is over people and their livelihoods, to make sure that they're within a safe environment, that you provide for them in terms of their basic needs. You provide an environment conducive for them to live. This is what we are saying. So, if half of the population, over half of the population in counties over which you are governing and leading cannot do something as basic as eat. Food that passes through your system. Food that keeps you alive. That you're not able to produce. Not only are you not able to do it, the attitude over which you're dealing with these things is poor at best. So the question is, what are you doing?
It's one of those small time things. Have you seen the man who's in charge of coordinating government operations calling a meeting to discuss this? I saw him calling a meeting to discuss Kenya Power. Fred Matiang'i. He called a meeting to discuss because the president's task force report must be implemented. This one must happen. This one, we are going to take this very, very seriously. People are dying.
People are dying of hunger.
The president has declared this a national disaster. How many meetings has Matiang'i held and come out to say, you know what, we have held this meeting. We are going to hold another meeting next week. This is what is happening. We are coordinating. I'm using my national government coordinating officers across the country in these 23 counties to understand the situation on a daily basis. They are all aware. Tomorrow, expect to receive this amount of money. You, Chief so-and-so, Mr. so-and-so, Mrs. so-and-so, and so-and-so, they don't have a mobile phone. We are sending you the money to give it to them. And I want to talk to them and understand that they've received their money. Are we seeing that? Oh, no, we have already mapped out the people who need food. And, when the donors give us money, they'll send the money directly to those other people, from next month. Bollocks.
It's not a priority.
It isn't.
When the least vulnerable of your society are not a priority for the government, there is a big problem here. There's a major problem. But then you're dealing with power struggle. You're dealing with who then is going to have a position politically. You're dealing with other things. Look very clearly at the messages that are being sent here. Latent or otherwise, look very clearly at the messages that are being sent here, that the people who are vulnerable today are not being taken care of in the manner in which they ought to. There is a huge message that's being sent out there. Whether the recipient and whether the message is being delivered in the way in which it was intended is not the point. The message is ringing very clearly here. That how do you handle issues of emergency? How do you handle issues of disaster? How do you handle issues of livelihoods for people in the country? Here we are. And you're saying, okay, we're going to give you some money. What we have right now, we're not going to use it to deal with the people who are suffering the most. We're going to wait a month until those that we offer the begging bowl to are going to fill that bowl. Then we will be able to help you out. What else is a priority? What should be a priority for government? What should be a priority when your people are suffering? I want to look at the other side of it. In some other parts of the country, you have people with surpluses in terms of their agricultural activities. Surpluses. There is nobody to mop it up. The market is either saturated or the prices are so terrible that nobody can deal. What's wrong with government mopping up these excesses and delivering those in terms of food to these areas?
Facilitate markets to work. Facilitate markets to work.
It drives me nuts that we talk about these policies, this implementation of these policies. You have spent time, you have spent the very best of your minds, you've spent resources to put these policies together. Then you don't use them. What's the point? What's the point? You don't use them. Why are you not flexing your muscle in terms of policy making and implementation? Why? Why is it not happening? Why? I don't understand it. That you have places in this country where people are harvesting and their yields are bumper harvests over and over and over again. This is happening in the same country where you have this clear split between want and surplus. It is there. So what happens with streamlining some of these things and bringing them together and saying, there's a part of this country that's suffering. There's a part of this country that's yielding hugely. Why is there no nexus between the two? Why is this implementation thing so difficult to do? And then you have to ask the question again. If those in positions of leadership, if those in positions of governance, if those in positions of public service right now are sitting on these policies, why on God's green earth are they still there? Because that's what we're talking about. The health and lives of people is at your doorstep. You don't do something about it, it's tantamount to killing them. You might as well string them up at the gallows. There's no difference.
Yep.
There's no difference. You're killing your people. And you're making a conscious decision to do that every day. Every day you choose not to do something about this. You're literally setting up your people for firing squad and putting them to death. So, who is supposed to be responsible for it? Clearly you cannot do it. Why are you there?
Yeah. Why do we need government? You know, we're talking about medium to long-term plans. There's a food and national and a nutrition security policy. There are laws. There are programs that are being run by government. In fact, right now, as you understand, remember, the Ministry of Agriculture is rolling out an agriculture sector reform program, looking at what needs to be done. And agriculture here is not just on crop production, it's on crop and animal, right? Livestock production. All those things. When the food and nutrition security policy was being developed 10 years ago in 2011, this is what it says. Food and nutrition security refers to a situation where all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. At all times you have access, either financial access, economic access or physical access to food. Currently, over 10 million people in Kenya suffer from chronic food insecurity, and poor nutrition. And between 2 and 4 million people require emergency food assistance at any given time in the country. Nearly 30% of Kenya's children are classified as undernourished, and micronutrient deficiencies are widespread. That's why they came up with this food security, to address these issues, to say what needs to be done. Okay, what shall we do to develop markets, to develop agriculture, to develop our food production, to develop access to food coming in from other neighboring countries, how all those things. Today, I'm not focusing on that medium to long because they'll tell us that it's there. And implementation. In fact, you see, we have my answer, my indicator of the government's commitment to achieving food security, even if it's a big 4 agenda or big 7 or big 1, big only agenda, is in the today. That today there are millions of Kenyans who are food insecure and they don't have access to food. And the government has been knowing about it. And the government seems to just be doing a snail's pace walk towards meeting these needs.
So interesting.
Kenya Meat Commission has been revamped, yes, by the military who moved in and did all these things. Among the programs of addressing this current drought is animal offtake. Livestock is dying because nobody is coming to offtake the said animal. And we have a government in place that is doing everything that it's calling working. This government is not working. If it cannot feed its people, forget anything else.
It's not working.
It's not working. It's 7:30. Let's take a break. We'll hear from you as well after the break. 0719-012-600.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*1# to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country.
The weather with
Sunny conditions in
SpiceFM.
Nairobi at 17, highs of 27 and lows of 16. It's mostly sunny in Nakuru at 14, highs of 28 and lows of 13. Nyeri is sunny at 14. We'll see lows of 13 and highs of 25. And we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions this morning in Eldoret, currently at 14, highs of 25 and lows of 13. It's sunny in Mombasa at 26, highs of 32 and lows of 25. And we're looking at sunny conditions as well in Malindi at 27 with highs of 31. Kisumu is sunny at 21, highs of 31 and lows of 19. And look at partly sunny conditions in Kakamega at 31, the high today, and lows of 16. Kampala is mostly cloudy at 19, highs of 28 and lows of 18. And we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions this morning in Dar es Salaam at 28, highs of 32 and lows of 24. Joburg is sunny at 11, highs of 23 and lows of 10. Partly cloudy conditions in Lagos this morning at 32. That'll be the high, the lows of 24. It's raining in Kinshasa at 23, highs of 33 today.
Spice up your life.
All right, Mombasa Road this morning is seeping in with the traffic today. We are looking at it going into the city very slowly, but not too bad today. So Mombasa Road, kudos to you. Well done. Southern Bypass looking pretty good. I give you the gift of the Southern Bypass this morning. There's an option for you to get into the city. You're coming from Mombasa Road. You don't want to, be in traffic with everybody else. There is an option for you to use it. Come back round and then join General Motors after that. But you might as well stick on the Southern Bypass and then go out into the city much quicker because why? You will join Uhuru Highway, and Uhuru Highway is what? It's a mess. So you don't want to do that, at least not for now. Let's look at that industrial area circuit, Lunga, Lusaka, Likoni, then getting onto Mombasa Road. That's not interesting to look at this morning. Jogo Road, bumper to bumper between the train station and the roundabout. So that is a no-go zone, at least for now. Outer Ring is an option for you to use this morning. What other options do we have? Guess what they're called? They're called the bypasses. You might want to use that as an option as well. Outer Ring not looking too pretty as you're trying to get to the thicker superhighway. That is absolutely blocked today. It's moving very, very slowly. It's all red from what I see. We're in the middle of traffic hour officially now, guys. Are you getting stuck somewhere? Let us know. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 24 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room on SpiceFM and online. In the room with you this morning is Ndu Okoh and Eric Latiff. So, 2.5 million people, and this is a conservative figure at best from government. In 23 counties, food insecure today. They need emergency food assistance. 23 counties are facing drought. This situation has been declared a national disaster by the president, and the government is now mobilizing resources to go and address the drought situation in the country and to see how best to feed 2.5 million people and their livestock. These are counties where livestock production is the biggest. A greater percentage of the beef that's consumed in this country is grown, is produced in these asshole counties. So when there's drought and the animals that are dying, guess what that means to the country's food security?
It's at risk.
Country's access to protein, it's at risk. What are the programs that the government has told us it has rolled out? Number one, it has rolled out an animal offtake program using KDF, and KDF was given 450 million shillings for offtake, purchase and distribution of livestock feeds. The government has also rolled out some cash to buy food and take food to these ASAL areas and to those that are in need. The government has been meeting yesterday, the cabinet secretary who's in charge of this, and that is a long ministry. Now, it is gender, it's no longer youth affairs. Let me just tell you what this ministry is now called. Ministry of Public Service, Gender, Senior Citizens Affairs and Special Programs. Under Professor Margaret Kobia is the one that's coordinating this. Yesterday, she was meeting with the development partners working in the arid and semi-arid lands sector working group to discuss how they can support the government's efforts in feeding the people. The government has a budget that it produced and was presented to the president when he declared this a national disaster of over 6 billion shillings. The government has only been able to afford 2.3 billion shillings. 1.2 billion shillings has been spent so far on trying to feed the people.
Okay.
We need a lot of money. Yes.
Okay. When you're budgeting, is there... Okay, because now what they're saying, the budget was 6 billion shillings, right?
Yes.
About 2 billion shillings has been spent so far.
Yes.
And they're saying that we don't have this other 3.8.
1.5 actually, not even 1.5 billion.
Okay, so about 4.5 billion is what they're saying we don't have.
We need to
right?
raise.
They're
Yes.
looking for it. So when you are making a budget, there is the assumption that you have an idea or the indicators about where this money is going to come from.
Yes.
So that means you are aware of the threat, you are aware of the need, you are aware of what needs to happen in order to implement things to make sure this need is seen to and taken care of.
Yep.
Where was the hope that these funds were going to come from?
This guy is
No. In an emergency situation, you have an emergency.
Yes.
This is not something that you're saying, okay, in the next couple of months, perhaps we will have people who are hungry. There are people who are hungry today. There are animals that are dying today. There are water sources that have dried up today. The situation is dire right now. It's not about tomorrow when we hope that development partners then might be able to help us, or somebody's going to distribute hundreds of water tankers to be able to fill up dams that have previously dried up. This is a situation that is getting worse by the day. By the minute, by the hour, it is getting worse. The people who went to bed hungry yesterday woke up what this morning? Hungry. The people whose animals were dying because they were weak yesterday, they woke up today and their animals are dead. This is not a matter of, okay, let's plan and see next month who can help us out. Are you kidding me? When a president of a nation, it doesn't matter where it is, president of a nation declares something as a disaster, we know. What does that mean? It essentially gives you the key to unlock resources that then can be diverted to that issue immediately. This is not a matter of, I'm coming tomorrow, I beg. Stop whatever else you're doing.
Focus.
And move those funds. That is because anybody can declare it a disaster. But when the chief executive of the nation declares it a disaster, you're essentially unlocking funds that can stop other things and move those funds to take care of this current problem today. That is what we're talking about. Look, that's what it means. That is actually what it means. By nature of the fact that it is declared means that there is an understanding across the board. All right, guys, everybody, hold on. People need help today. All these other things that we're doing and being involved in, they don't matter because we're trying to get people fed and back on track. And let's see what we can do to make sure then that we don't run into this situation again. In the absence of such action, essentially what you're telling Kenyans today, I'll be as bold as to say it, we don't really care. We'll do what we can, if that. And that's the best effort. We don't care about you. The things that we are focusing on, where we are putting our attention, that's what we care about. Because the person who said that actions speak louder than words, they were not stupid. They knew what they were saying.
Yep.
So when you see people taking their cows to a center where you, the government, said that you were going to be able to off-take those animals and give them money for it, that system is not even functioning. There's nobody to receive those cows and give you money for it. Even the weighing system in that place is not even working. What are we talking about? And that's one place. Can you imagine having to make a decision?
Yep.
Will I give my children water? Or will I water my livestock?
Will I feed them? What will I do?
And then you tell me the government is working.
The government
it's
has
not
said
working.
The government has said that at least 2.35 million people need food. Okay? The government has said that. And then the government is saying that next month, and in fact it's saying the situation is getting worse by the day as we head towards December, as we sit there and we observe and we see that the short trains are failing. As we look at all these things, the situation is getting worse. So that means the 2.5 million people who are facing hunger in September will not be the same number.
There'll be more.
But in December, what the government will do is it will roll out a 1,000 shillings cash transfer program to 734,000 individuals. When the people who need the food are 2.5 million, 369,000 vulnerable households. When you've been told 2.5 million are vulnerable. So what's the program? What's the plan for the other 2.5 minus 700,000?
There's no plan. And this is my thing, that there is no plan. There's no contingency in place. There is no consideration of that thing that you have just said. There's not even a consideration. All right, there'll be more people in the next couple of months who are actually going to need this help or need this attention. It doesn't even come into the minds right now. It doesn't even play into the scenario at all. So you don't have a current thinking. You don't have a current consideration. How do you expect that there's going to be a further consideration? So actually, you know what? You're right. If you're not dealing with the problem as it is today, there is no way on God's green earth that you'll be thinking about how we are going to mitigate these issues in the future. So, wow, okay. So then you actually have to ask yourself, the Disaster Management Authority, early warning system organizations that are operating in this country, are they not there then for eye service and lip service? To just basically tell you, to give you this information, to advise you, but you don't use that information, so your decisions are not based on any kind of data whatsoever. Meanwhile, on this same globe, we have people who are thriving on those early warning systems, that they say, okay, hold on a minute, this is the pattern, and this has been the pattern for the last 5 years. You want me to name them? Ireland, Israel, Qatar here, United Arab Emirates that's built out of a desert, Australia that is desert. There are examples of those countries around the world living in worse geographical situations than Kenya is today, but thriving on early warning systems, thriving on information that is given to them, and so they're able to plan. And they say, okay, this is what climate environment is going to deal us. But we are bound by our commitment as government to take care of our people. So this is what we are going to do. So everybody's working in tandem to make sure that and let's be clear, you actually can't do anything about the geographical location that you've been given. You can't. You can't deal. However, you can do something about the patterns. You can do something because of that information you have. You can then plan for it. You can. And we've seen people do it.
It gets worse, Ndu. We're going into an election next year. There are people who have come out to indicate that they would like to be the next leader of the country. Which of them is talking about drought? Which of them? Have we seen those who are calling themselves the front runners and the big horses, the main horses? Have we seen William Ruto or Raila Odinga talking about this? Have they been to Isiolo? Yes. Have they been to Kilifi? Yes. Are these counties among the 23? Yes. Are you hearing them talking? No. Have they been to Samburu? Yes. Is it one of the counties? Yes. Are they talking about this? No. The leaders in these counties, these 23 counties,
are they talking about it?
What are they saying? What are they doing? This is half of the Council of Governors. If half of the Council of Governors came together, a council meeting would be held to discuss the dire situation in half of the country. the leaders in these counties, what are they doing? What are they saying? They will tell you, oh, you know, from the county resources, we've been able to distribute some of the, we have fed some people, we distributed water. In fact, yeah, we have some water trucking services that is taking water and putting water in some water ponds. We have done this and the other. Is that coordinated? Is that sufficient? Is it alleviating the problem that the people are facing today? How much of a dent is it causing on the current situation?
And if you can do one thing, if you can say that at the end of what the term that you have been given or the period that you've been given to then impact life through leadership and governance, if you had done one thing, feed your people.
Kept your people alive.
Yeah. I can guarantee that you would be in that position forever. Kept your people alive. And so oftentimes when people come and they sit here and they gesticulate about the things that they want to do for the country, my sticking point is, with what you have, what have you done? That in the time when the country needed you, at the time with the greatest point of need, because what greater thing is there than to remain alive? What greater thing is there than to eat and remain alive at this point than for you to be able to do these other things that we're talking about? At the time when you were needed the most.
The most
what
you
did
were
you
doing
do?
is you're playing politics.
Yeah. That has to be the ultimate
One of the
question.
counties severely affected by this is Kilifi County. What's the leader of Kilifi County doing? Forming a new party.
A new party, because the coast region needs to be represented. Meanwhile, the people of the coast are dying.
The situation in Kilifi is dire. We have seen from humanitarian agencies working there, the Red Cross, they've been saying, look, we are trying to address the issue in Kilifi. The situation in all those counties in the Asal is serious. How much attention is being given to this? What are we doing? Oh no, we are just talking and talking about it. Anthony wants to contribute to this conversation. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well. How's Mombasa?
Mombasa, at least it's too hot.
It's
too hot.
Poleni. Yes. It's a season.
Tutaumia na heat rush tu hapa, but we'll survive. If I can contribute on this thing,
Yes.
This thing is it's something that it's a recurring event, and it's not just for the last 5 years. It's for the last 10 years.
20.
Drought has it. Yes.
Yep.
It has to be declared that drought, emergencies, and people will take advantage and import grain and import whatnot. So it is not about the people who are suffering.
Yep.
Now, we had an argument also, a talk about this thing, and I think there's some misinformation that I think it's high time now we have to clear these things out. Because, for example, someone will say, digging a borehole in Kilifi is 120,000 Kenya shillings.
Uh-huh.
So, and you say the county has been giving, let's say, for $1 billion in a year.
Yep.
So, how many boreholes are those? But in reality, a borehole in Kilifi costs even way more than 120,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, I believe now what we can do, if we could have these companies that are involved in drilling of boreholes, give a quotation. For example, how much will it take for us to drill a borehole in Kilifi, in Turkana?
And Kilifi is vast. It may not be the same across Kilifi.
Give a particular location.
Yep.
How much is it? Now, if you're told it's 1 million, 2 million, now from there, we can now actually ask the governor. We know for you to drill a borehole at a certain place, be it Turkana, be it this place, is this much. What have you done? Yes, because now we have facts. But most of the time, why this discussion is not going anywhere, because we just throw in figures that are not true. Because if you call the county governor for Turkana, if you tell him, you know, a borehole is 120,000, he tells you no, it is 5 million.
Yep.
You know, now that argument now changes.
Yep.
Yes. But if we have facts, Those are the things that now make our discussions a bit more one-sided. That's all I can say.
That's a good one. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Okay.
Thank you.
No. I'm just trying to even do some calculations here as I put all of these things together, and I'm saying, you know what? When you make comparisons between what is on the ground and what is being lost on a daily basis and what is not even being counted in terms of questions being asked, we're in a bad situation. And I think we just have to accept it.
We are.
In a very, very bad situation.
We are.
And the more painful thing here is that something can actually be done about it. I'm not even going to share those numbers with you because it's quite painful. That something can actually be done about all of this, and it's not happening. Your people are dying. Because let's not even get academic about it. Your people are dying. You are able to do something about it. You choose. Because you being able and not doing something about it is actually a choice.
Yep.
You choose not to do something about it. But then you're talking about things that actually do not matter. Over whom will you govern and lead? This power that everybody's scrambling for at the same time. Will you do it over a dead population? Will you do it over a vulnerable population? Will you do it over a sick population? Will you do it over people who cannot afford life? Will you govern and lead a people who cannot survive? People who are weak in their disposition at best are the ones over whom you want to lead?
You know, if this drought situation were to become, a big thing globally where, based on the government's response, there'd be money coming. You'd be seeing daily updates.
Yes.
From not just the minister, but the president on what is happening in the drought in the country. When half the geographic mass of the country is facing drought, when millions of people, 2.3 is a very conservative figure, when millions of people are food insecure and are staring at death because of hunger on a daily basis, if that was a serious thing to a government, would be having daily updates, would be having daily mobilization.
But it doesn't
The
matter.
last thing that we saw happen in a government was the Kenya Red Cross mobilizing the citizens and the media joining in to mobilize the citizens. What was the government doing? The government was doing what the government does, giving us talk. It's the same thing. The government is sitting back hoping that the donors that were meeting with the cabinet secretary yesterday are the ones who are going to mobilize money from their taxpayers to come and feed your taxpayers. That other citizens in the country are going to sit back and think, oh my God, this is so serious. That the Kenya Red Cross can come up with another Kenyan for Kenya. Or that Equity's James Mwangi will sit and say, you know what, people are hungry. Let's mobilize through Kemsa and the others. But the government, all it's doing is it's giving you figures. 1.5 million shillings was set aside by the 1.5 billion shillings, and so far 1.2 billion shillings has been spent on this and the other. And in fact, from next month, we're going to shift our policy and our approach to this. Our approach is no longer going to be food distribution, but it's going to be cash transfer so that people can get the money and then they choose how they want to buy the food, and the food that they want to buy locally available to them. And now this is the focus that we're going to use going forward. And in fact, now we're going to feed 734,000 individuals from next month and some 390,000 families from next month. Those ones are going to be catered for, and we have already mapped them out. In fact, those that don't have mobile phones are going to get the money from Talk. Kelele mingi panganga bangi. The work that should be done at best is not being done.
So,
and if it was being done, if indeed, and I know there are government officials who are listening to this, if indeed you're doing any work, please show us on the ground. Let us see you go to Koreni in Lamu County and show us no more cows like this. Show us no more people standing looking at their cattle and saying, this cow will be dead in the next 24 hours. If indeed you, government, are doing something. Let us see these cows at KMC. Let us see this as meat being distributed again to the people who need the food.
And if you're really serious about running this country in the future, if you're really serious about Kenyans, you're speaking to Kenyans and saying, give me your vote to go forward. And I'm speaking directly to the people who want to come in the future. Whether you're at MCA level, women, rep, member of parliament, governor, senator, as high as president, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're really serious about coming in to lead this country in the future, the question that you must be asked is today. Because the likelihood is that if you're coming in a different capacity in the future, that currently you are in capacity today. What have you done with what is in your hand today? How have you impacted the lives of Kenyans for the better today? And why should you be trusted in the future if today the people over whom you've been given governance and leadership are dying, not suffering, dying? One Kenyan dying because of something that can be avoided is one Kenyan too many.
You'll promise to give them whatever, bottom up or 6,000 shillings. They need the money today, my friend. People need to eat today. You're campaigning and you're saying that you want to be president, you want to be governor, you want to be MCA, you want to be senator or MP or woman rep. My friend, especially those from these counties, just shut up and go and do some work.
Leave it.
Just leave us alone. Spare us this BS and just go and do something. There are people who need food, and that is the focus that should be given to the country. Half the country, again, as we go into the news, half the country, ladies and gentlemen, is facing a drought. And the government is hoping that some Muzungu donor is going to come and feed our people in Lamu, in Isiolo, in Kwale, in Mandera, in Garissa, in Marsabit. This is a shame, and it's completely shameful. In the next hour, let's talk about studying in Japan. What do you need to do? What do you need to know so you can get opportunities to study and work in Japan? A very good morning to you. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. The High Court has issued orders temporarily suspending the military takeover at the Kenyan Medical Supplies Authority, pending a case filed by the Kenyan Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union. The orders issued by Judge Ocharu Keira of the Employment and Labour Relations Court also restrains Kemsa from sacking their employees pending hearing and determination of the application. The union argues that Kemsa has threatened to undertake mass sacking of its more than 900 staff members. Now, as the debate on school fires continues, teachers say they are burdened with professional responsibilities that they do not even have time to sit with students and build relationships with them. Some have pointed out that a teacher must daily prepare a guide for each subject, while records are expected to be included in a performance report submitted online regularly. Similarly, NAT is said to have lost its footing such that teachers have nowhere to go and raise their concerns. Businessman Jimmy Wanjigi has filed a preliminary objection seeking to strike out a petition seeking to compel Orange Democratic Movement Party to take action against him for declaring his presidential bid without following the internal procedures. The ODM presidential aspirant in his preliminary objection argues that the political party's disputes tribunal has no jurisdiction to hear and arbitrate on the matter filed last week. Wanjigi, who has been listed as an interested party in the notice of motion, now wants Catherine Wanjiku, Irungu, the petitioner, compelled to use the ODM party internal dispute tribunal mechanism to resolve her complaints. Now, even as drought continues to be experienced in several parts of the country, the management of the Agricultural Development Agency ADC says it expects to harvest 900 tons of oranges worth 31 million shillings this year. Speaking in Swam Orchard Orange Plantations in Trans Nzoia County, ADC Country Director Mohamed Boule said they are irrigating the fields to combat climate change.
These crops that we have here are all grafted so that they can give you faster produce. If we don't graft and we just leave the root stock to grow into a plant, it can take even up to 6 years or more. But when you graft, you will harvest in 3 years. So these are some of the technologies that we use. The businessmen come direct here to buy the oranges at farm gate price, which is very much reasonable because the businessman gets a net of oranges, about 14 kilos, which holds between 80 and 90 fruits at 450 shillings.
A similar statement was made by Swam Orchard Farm Manager Dennis Gishana.
Food security is actually our major role. Mostly what we do is to ensure that our farmers who produce the food for the citizens in this country get the certified seeds so that their produce and harvest is guaranteed. So that is why most of the other farms that we have in Trans Nzoia are actually dedicated to the production of certified seeds.
On cultivation of other crops such as maize and potatoes, Bula said ADC has prioritized the production of quality seeds to meet one of the government's Big Four agenda on food production.
The total acreage for the orchard is 350 acres. For this financial year, we are targeting 900 tons of oranges, which will translate to that 1 million in this financial year. We are seeing a lot of improvements, especially in the production of the oranges. Last year, we only achieved 400 tons for the whole financial year. But for this year, as at the second quarter, we had achieved 100 tons, which means at the end of the year, we are going to surpass the targets.
Now, Kenya continues to record below 100 cases of COVID-19 daily. On Monday, 20 new cases of COVID-19 were reported, bringing the country's caseload to 253,853. Health Muthui Kagwe confirmed that this was from a sample size of 3,136, recording a positivity rate of 0.6%. The cumulative test stand at 2,741,836. The country's cumulative fatalities remain 5,312 as no death was reported. Kagwe said that there are 402 patients currently admitted in various health facilities countrywide, while 1,093 are under the home-based isolation and care program. Now, more than 250 million cases of COVID-19 have been reported globally. According to data from Johns Hopkins University, this grim milestone comes about a year and 8 months since the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus a pandemic in March 2020. The first 50 million cases were reported over the first 8 months, a full year ago on November 7th, 2020, and there have been about 50 million new cases reported about every 3 months since then. Globally, more than 5 million people have died of COVID-19. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
We are in the middle of traffic hour, a few minutes after 8 o'clock, and the traffic everywhere you look in the eastern part of the city. Coming off Jogo Road this morning, it doesn't look pretty, folks. Started very early and it's not letting up, at least not for now. Trying to get out onto Landis Road is a sport today in both directions, looking in and outbound from Kamkunji and then also from Jogo Road. That continues to be a thing. Haile Selassie also feeding off Kamkunji and then also feeding off Huru Highway this morning, coming off Ngong Road as well. Into the city, quite packed. The Thika Superhighway, woo! Today is the day, and there's traffic all the way to the drive-in. A little bit of traffic feeding off Outer Ring today. Coming out of Westlands, where there was no traffic, there is now, and it's quite packed. Don't forget, the Red Hill Link Road is a good way to get out of that traffic and into the city. Kiambu Road also continues. Limuru Road packed as well. We're looking at traffic all over the city. Indeed, it is traffic hour. We'll try to get out of this without too much of a scratch. How can you help out, folks? Are you stuck somewhere? Or do you find a good route that other folks can use this morning? How about you let us know on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
7 minutes
the
after
only
8.
way
This is
to
Kenya's
start your
biggest
day.
conversation, the Situation Room. We are glad that you're tuned in. With you this morning is Eric Latiff, crocking as I am, and Ndu Okoh, who's getting much better. City Muga is crocking worse than I am. So today, City is not in the studio. But I have the day's proverb. Sugarcane. You know sugarcane?
Yes.
It's sweet, right?
Indeed.
And like the best way to chew sugarcane is not right. You're using a knife. The best way to chew sugarcane is get it from the shamba and
Pull off those things in your
yes,
teeth and get in on that juice.
and then you throw it. Sugarcane is sweetest at its joint. Now the Wazayas who came up with this one knew very well that you get to the joint and you avoid it. That's why you get now your panga and you then you continue eating.
Then you cut it
No, that is what they're telling you. That
If you get to that point.
it's the sweetest.
Okay.
It's the sweetest at its joint. This is a Kenyan proverb. Now, we want to say good morning to our audience on KTN Home who join us now until the top of the hour. The show is on SpiceFM and it also live streams every morning on SpiceFM KE, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and our website www.spicefm.co.ke. So we've got an audience from Nairobi to all over the world. There are people who are watching this show in Japan, in Papua New Guinea, in the USA, in Zambia, in Gambia, in Sudan, in Uganda, in Tanzania. And our friend Yegon is watching us in Wajir. Global. Let's talk then global. And this is studying abroad, studying in Japan. We had a conversation a couple of weeks back on studying in Japan, especially for postgraduate studies and getting, how you can get either scholarships or how you can just get to know the universities and whatever programs they're offering, their admission criteria, how you can go and work and study in Japan, how then also the government of Japan is encouraging people from Africa to go in, study in Japan, and you can also work for a while in Japan. Let's now shift the conversation to undergraduate studies because there are many people who are asking, so what about undergraduate studies? And our friend from Study in Japan Global Network, the coordinator for Africa, Dr. Midori Diamond, is joining us now on the line. Good morning, Dr. Midori.
Good morning.
It's good to
How are
have you
you?
on the show again.
Very
Very well, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
today she's joined by Ryosuke Hori, who is the International Inbound Coordinator for International Affairs Office at Toyo University. Ryosuke Han, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, asante sana for joining us. Now, we'll speak to you, Dr. Midori, starting with you. The last time we were talking about postgraduate studies. Now it's undergraduate studies that we're talking about. So, how there are many universities, obviously, in Japan that are offering undergraduate study programs for Kenyans seeking to go and study in Japan. How easy is it to look through the universities, to go through the application, to go through the maybe interviewing and selection process, and to travel to Japan?
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. Yeah, actually now that many university is providing many courses offered in English in undergraduate level. Yeah, and now we are collecting 75 courses from 27 universities. They have various courses from engineering to natural science and also some social sciences studies. Yes, and most of all procedure for application is online. So when you are in Kenya, you can apply to undergraduate course. Yes.
How do you get to see the 27 universities?
How? Okay, we have some list to provide the information on those courses. So please you can visit our website, or also today we have a guest from Toyo University. Toyo University has also good courses in undergraduate studies, so maybe he will explain more about it. Thank you.
Indeed. Then come in, Ryosuke-san. Tell us about Toyo University, where you're located, kind of programs that you offer. How old is this university? You know, people want to know whether they're going into an institution that has some heritage.
Okay, thank you. So Toyo University founded in 87. So we have more than 130 years history. And our main campus is located in the very center of Tokyo. And we have 5 different campuses in and around Tokyo area. It depends on which program you belong to, which campus you will be studying. And we are private, comprehensive private university, and our student population is more than 31,000. So it's one of the largest private universities in Japan.
So now when you look at that, then obviously there's a huge population of students who are already attending this university. And then if there's a call for more to come from different parts of the world, are you saying that there's space and it's open for more to join, as many as could?
Yes. Most of the courses are taught in Japanese. So we require new students to have certain level of Japanese language proficiency level for international students. But we have some courses taught in all in English or partially in English. So in those programs, we actively, recruit international students from all over the world.
So you're saying then the students that you're recruiting from other parts of the world then will only be able to sit certain courses unless they speak Japanese. It seems like that would be a challenge.
Yes. For courses taught in Japanese, it's undergraduate university level courses. So you are expected to have a certain Japanese level. We take JLPT, which is Japanese language proficiency test, or other Japanese proficiency tests for admissions requirement. But for courses taught in English, they only have to have English proficiency level.
Okay. So what are some of the areas then, course areas that are offered whereby your proficiency in English is what is required? What are some of those course areas?
Yes. So since we are focusing on undergraduate level today, so we have three programs offered in English. First one is about kind of business economics kind of mixed together. It's called Global Innovation Program. And the second one is Regional Development Studies, where students study about political science, international relations, and also development studies. And the last one, this is IT computer science program called Information Networking for Innovation and Design. This course is partly taught in English and partly taught in Japanese. So students do not have to have any Japanese level at the time of application or at time of admission, but they gradually, are taught Japanese, and they will be taking courses in Japanese in after sophomore, second year.
Ryosuke-san, of course, the next question that someone would want to know is, how expensive is it to study at Toyo University?
Okay. Our tuition is about the average among Japanese private universities. So, yearly it's about 10,000 US dollars. That's the average, but it kind of depends on which program you belong to.
So, an average of 10,000 US dollars per year, and this is only tuition. So, how much else would a student coming from Kenya need, for upkeep around Tokyo? You say you are located in the center of Tokyo. How much then more would someone need?
Okay. so international students can get a partial tuition waiver at Toyo University. Actually, it's eligible for all international students as long as they have student visa. So, so technically, 30% of tuition will be reduced automatically. And that's for first year. And from second year and ahead, it will be 20 to 40%, depending on their academic performance. So with that, many students are, of course, many students are working part-time in Tokyo because it's very expensive to live in Tokyo. But if you can commute for 1 hour or so every day, to the campus, the housing cost will be much cheaper than one might think. So students can survive with a little bit of part-time job and the tuition waiver, financial aid.
You're the inbound coordinator at this university, so obviously you did a lot with international students who are coming to study at Toyo University. When you're advising a student who's been admitted to any of the programs to come, and yes, they've gotten this generous partial 30% waiver on the first year for tuition, so basically it's come down from 10,000 a year to 7,000 a year. That's some generous. How much would you advise them that they need for upkeep if they are living within Japan and if they were to commute and live outside of, within Tokyo?
Okay, that's a kind of difficult question because it depends on the lifestyle of each student. But on average, I would say students have to have about $1,000 US for everything, for like housing, for mobile, clothes, food, and everything. So plus, of course, they have to pay for tuition and some other fees.
Is this per month?
So,
You're looking at $1,000 extra per month, or for over what period?
Per month. Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're looking at 4-year courses here at an undergraduate level. Then in terms, a lot of people, we look at it now that education and then thereafter getting into some kind of gainful employment, and maybe also Midori-san can come in here as well, looking at gainful employment thereafter, maybe not necessarily going back to your country of origin, even though there's an option, take your expertise back home, but what opportunities then are available, whether then you want to then go into extra study or then, stay in Japan, get some work experience under your belt. What is that an option? Is that something that's encouraged, or how then does this transition happen?
Yeah, okay, let me answer a bit. Okay, now almost 40% of international students at undergraduate level got some job opportunities in Japan. So it means it's good if you want to work in Japan after graduation, it's good to enter from the undergraduate level. Because even if you will be taught in English, but when in the daily life you will learn some language, Japanese language, and then it would benefit you, because if you want search for job in Japan, it's good to have some Japanese proficiency actually. Yeah, and then most of campus, including Toyo University, have good Japanese language course, so you can take it when you are doing your courses. And also let me add some information about the cost expenses in Japan. Actually, yeah, Tokyo is a bit expensive area, as Ryosuke-san already explained, but average living expenses in Japan is like $780 per month, including residence, food, and other fees, utilities, and also community fees. So yeah, so if you as Ryosuke-san explained, if you stay a bit far from the campus, yeah, you will get good accommodation when it's reasonable prices. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then I would want to also know, maybe now going back to Toyo University, for those who are in Kenya, for example, or in other parts of the continent, who are then looking for opportunities, what is the application process like? How do they get into this? How do they start? What process then do you go through in terms of a wait period? What are you asking people to do in terms of time? And when do the semesters start? Kind of thing. Maybe, okay.
Okay. So Toyo accepts new students in spring and fall. So in April and September, right? And for each admission period, we have application period for admissions. So the first thing students need to do is maybe to look at the application guidelines, and they should understand what kind of documents they are supposed to submit. So and when the application period comes, then they should submit everything online. Okay. Then we'll check their documents, and we will have an online interview and document screening within our screening committee. Then students will get the final result, and if they're accepted, they should fulfill the admissions procedure. Then they should get ready for coming to Japan. So we will take care of help the visa process, and also like housing, advising, and we give them a lot of different kinds of orientations when they come.
When somebody moves into a new country, especially you're talking about undergrad students, so this are people who've just cleared, let's say, high school in the country. They're about 18, 19. They're moving into a new country. There's a new culture. There's getting to understand, to meet new people. How do you take them through that? Through that orientation of the culture, the people, the community as well?
Yes. We always encourage international students who come to Japan for the first time to live in our university dormitory. There are many international exchange students from all over the world, and there are also some Japanese students living there. So it's a great environment for students to help with each other to get used to the life in Japan and life in Toyo University. So yeah, that's the biggest thing we offer.
Okay, maybe before we take the break, out of the 31,000 students currently at Toyo University, how many international students do you have?
We currently have 1,200 international students, although not everyone is on campus. Some of them are taking courses online for the time being.
And is a significant number of them from Africa?
Not many. We only have maybe 10, 15 students from Africa.
Okay. Let's continue this conversation after this short break. We have with us on the line Dr. Midori Diamond. She is a Study in Japan coordinator at the Study in Japan Global Network. And Ryosuke Hori, he's the inbound coordinator at the International Affairs Office of Toyo University. This is a university that was established in 1887. It's in the middle of Tokyo. They offer various programs. We're talking about undergraduate studies at Toyo University, just looking at undergraduate studies in Japan. What do you need to do if you are looking to get opportunities in Japan? How many of these opportunities are available in various universities? And Midori-san has told us there are 27 universities offering this English course program in 75 courses for international students. So very many opportunities. Let's get to understand these opportunities and how you can take advantage of them. At 26 minutes after 8, Kenya's biggest conversation on SpiceFM, KTN Home, and online. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani maternity hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The weather with Spice FM.
It's sunny in Nairobi at 17, highs of 27 and lows of 16 today. Nakuru is sunny at 16, highs of 28 and lows of 15. Sunny conditions at 17 in Nyeri with highs of 25. Eldoret going to highs of 25 today is currently mostly cloudy at 17. And Mombasa is sunny at 27, highs of 32 today. We'll see highs of 31 in Malindi, currently sunny at 27. Kisumu is cloudy at 26, highs of 31 and lows of 21. And we are looking at cloudy conditions at 26 in Kakamega, highs of 31 and lows of 16. In Kampala, mostly sunny at 21, highs of 28 and lows of 18. And Dar es Salaam is raining at 28, highs of 32 and lows of 24. Johannesburg is sunny at 12 with highs of 23. Lagos is partly cloudy at 24, highs of 31. And it's cloudy in Kinshasa now. The rain stopped at 24, highs of 33 and lows of 23.
Spice and everything nice, everything nice.
Spice up your life.
Mombasa Road outbound today. What's going on? All the way from Imaradaima through to the SGR today. A lot of traffic outbound. Not quite sure what's causing that, but obviously let's chalk it up to construction, at least for now. The Southern Bypass not looking too sticky right now. Use that. There's an option. Langata Road has piled up in the last few minutes, as has Ngong Road. Coming out of Westlands also has become quite busy. Again, not quite sure what's happening on Mombasa Road this morning, but it's jam-packed. Okay, so we're looking at the Thika Superhighway as well. Traffic there inbound. Kiambu Road in and outbound. Coming off Limuru Road in and outbound. And on Jogo Road, you guessed it, in and outbound as well. It's a crazy morning, guys. You need to be safe regardless of where you are. Are you stuck somewhere? Tell us so we can tell people not to come there. Or you found a good route? Tell us, we can tell people to come there. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice and everything nice. All right.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, broadcasting on Spice FM, on KT and Home, and online. Studying in Japan, undergraduate studies at Toyo University, a university that was established in 1887, has been in existence for more than 100 years. It's in the middle of Tokyo. And the inbound coordinator for international affairs, Ryosuke Hori, joins us on the line, as well as Dr. Midori Daimon, who is the coordinator for Study in Japan Global Network. We are talking about these opportunities in this particular university today. We'll be having more conversations with Midori-san on other opportunities in other universities as well. Midori, so you said there are 27 universities that Kenyans can apply for undergrad studies for 75 courses in engineering, in social sciences, and I forgot the other one. What else was the other one?
Yeah, actually, if you have interest in Japan itself or Japanese society or history, you can learn some courses which is offer bilingual courses.
Okay.
But if but you don't have any Japanese proficiency at the start, at the beginning. After you enter, you will learn Japanese, and then you will take some courses in English. And then after, like from third year, they will start to learn in Japanese language. So those courses, most of students after that course, they will get good job opportunity is in Japan because they can speak in Japanese language. Yes.
Okay.
And also, but there are many courses offered in English in science courses, natural science, yes, and also agriculture, engineering, of course. Yeah.
I'm interested in that. What would be the attraction of getting a job to a foreigner who has studied Japanese and then still working in Japan? I'm imagining there are very many other Japanese who understand the culture and everything about Japan. What's this attraction of employing a foreigner who has studied Japanese and the Japan culture?
Okay. Actually, when you start working, you have to know not only Japanese language, but it's good to know that some customs and like some manners, which is a bit difficult to say that clearly. Yeah, but if you study in Japan, you will know that how Japanese act and what is their customs. Yeah, and then if they know that those manners and customs, they will be easy to fit themselves to the company's policy or company's situation. Yeah.
How supportive is the Japanese government of this education exchange that we are talking about? So then, in terms of getting immigration documentation, visas and such, how easy then is it after admission, for example, to do this? So it could be universities across Japan saying, look, we want more students to come in from around the world. But then on the side of government, is that support there as well to then give the necessary papers to come into the country?
Okay. Actually, this project, which I'm working on, is supported by the Japanese government, Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology. Yeah, it's called MEXT. And then they have also their own scholarships, and also they have some other partial scholarships. They use through other associations, but also Japanese government is trying to welcome many students from all over the world. And then now we are working on Africa. Yeah.
Why is the Japanese government doing this? Why are they supporting welcoming of students from all over the world, people to come and study and work in Japan?
Okay. Now, actually, now our society is shrinking because we are aging society we have, and then we need more people who can support our society, and then we have to be more internationalized in many various ways. Yeah. So first one, of course, Japanese government would like welcome them to study in Japan, and then after graduation, they want them to work. But personally, if that depends on the students, how they feel. Yeah. But if they go to Japan as international students, their existence inspire us to be more open and internationalized. So, like international students can and African students can promote us and develop us. Yeah, that is what I'm thinking, and that is why I'm trying to. Yeah.
So it's opening up the Japanese society as well to whatever is happening in other parts of the world, to interact with more people from other parts of the world. Now, if somebody applies and gets admission to one of these universities from Kenya and they come in with a student visa, does it allow them to start working immediately, or do they need to spend some time before then they can qualify to work as they study?
You mean after graduation?
No, before, as they are studying.
When they are studying, okay. Actually, the student visa can allow you to work certain hours, 28 hours per week, I think. Yeah. So if you have student visa, yes, you can start working as not full time, but temporary job you can get. And that one also good experience for them to know Japanese society.
Midori-san, how easy is it to acquire Japanese citizenship?
Citizenship. Oh, okay. Sorry. Right now, I'm not sure about it. Let me check, and then I'll come back next year. Next week. Yes.
Is it also something that happens? So somebody has come, an international student, come and studied in Japan. They have worked in Japan for a number of years. Can they, at some point, also gain citizenship?
Yeah, I know some foreigners. Yeah, they are studying. After that, they're starting staying, and then they work. Yeah, and then finally they have the Japanese nationality. But about citizenship, actually, right now, sorry, I don't have details.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now coming to Toyo University, Roisuke, we're looking at obviously charters for education. Now, what recognition in terms of education does this university have? So we're looking at people who've come through Toyo, working in different sectors. What are some of the careers that people have gone into after having attended Toyo? And then, what countries in the world are we looking at that they've been placed in for jobs, gone back to come work after they've been through a Toyo education?
Yes. So there have been only a few international students who already graduated from our English medium programs, because the programs are established in 2017. So it's been only 5 years. So we just have the first group of graduates last year, and as far as the international students are concerned, some of them got a job in their home country, like in Vietnam, Uzbekistan, in Indonesia, and some other countries where they come from. But about 20-30% of them got a job in Japan, especially around in Tokyo area. And, they have different jobs right now. Some of them are teaching in international school. Some of them are working in trading companies. So, yeah, it varies.
Okay, so now what would be the hope later? Because you say that, okay, first set of international students have come and have graduated. What are you looking for? Is there a certain number that you hope to fill? Or is it just to, really spread awareness of what's happening, the quality of education that is offered, and say, come in as many as you want? Or are you saying a certain number then must be made up of international students? And then how are you looking at developing? How are you looking at then developing your English offering in terms of courses to include more courses going into the future?
Yes, we have been we were selected as one of the 37 top global universities in Japan. The project started in 2014, so this is the 7th year. So we have been receiving national grants to internationalize the university and the higher education sector itself. So we have the numerical number of international students that we should have for each year. So we are very actively recruiting international students, but as well, we are trying to increase the number of courses taught in English, to catch up with the global competitiveness among different universities in different countries.
Tell us about some of the most popular programs that international students are applying for at Toyo University.
Well, the most popular one is the IT program, Information Networking for Innovation and Design. It's, of course, they have to study in English, but they can also take courses in Japanese from the second year and third year. So, it's like twofold. Like studying Japanese and also studying about the IT, computer science, technology. So, yeah. That program has been very popular.
And what are the minimum requirements for this?
students have to have English proficiency score, and also they have to pass the initial screening. That's kind of about us asking students if they have the minimum knowledge of like mathematics, science, and technology.
So I'm assuming here, because we are talking about this conversation is taking place in Kenya, that then Toyo University and the other universities in Japan recognize our exams, the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education offered by the Kenya National Examinations Council.
Yes, we recognize that.
All right. We also have some international students as well in the country. There are those that are taking international baccalaureate or IGCSE. Those are also recognized?
Yes.
Okay. So apart from the...
We are pretty open to those.
Sorry, apart from the IT program, which others are popular?
The second popular one would be the Global Innovation Studies program. This is about business economics mixed together, and students are supposed to kind of tackle to solve social issues through studying about business and economics.
Okay. And so, I mean, I guess by the time students are coming into a university education, obviously looking beyond in terms of work in Japan. I know we discussed, the opportunities that then would be available. But say, someone has finished their university education at Toyo University. What are some of the areas that you would then be able to place them if they were working in Japan? What areas then would they see that they could then get employment later on? I mean, you're not going to finish a Toyo University education and then start flipping burgers kind of thing, So what kind of areas do you see that they would then most commonly be placed after school?
It really depends on students, but I see some kind of polarization between, some students are really interested in local, small business in local areas in a particular. Or there are some students who are interested in like very international, multinational companies or international teaching at international schools. So it really depends on students' motivation and interest.
Okay.
I see. Midori-san, coming back to you. So I just want to look back at the other universities that are offering different programs. I know in the coming weeks we'll be having more officials from other universities as well. But some of these 27 universities, how far spread are they within Japan?
How far? Oh, okay. Now that they are trying to promote themselves. Yeah, but now they are trying to also to welcome more international students to their university. And then actually next week we will have Ritmeka APU, Asia Pacific University, and then the guests are Kenyans. After their studies, they started working for a university in Japan.
Right.
Yeah, so you can also hear about how Kenyans get the job and after the studies.
That will be interesting to hear. So in which other cities apart from Tokyo are they?
They are staying in Beppu at Kyushu Island. It's a bit far from Tokyo, central in Japan. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you have people coming to study and then later on wishing to work and live in Japan, then there's a whole issue of trying to create that vibrant community, not just of students, but also people who have graduated and are already working in Japan. Are you involved in that, in making sure that there is, that bond that is maintained off campus into working relations, that they have a strong community of experts?
Okay. Actually, the university, they have some office providing some job opportunities after the graduation. And also, like, some students get some, like, seminar or, like, some consultation about how to write CV or how to make an interview, job interviews. Yeah. So after graduation, it depends on the universities how they connect the students each other. But yeah, some university has good and strong relationship with alumni. Yeah, even after graduation.
Okay. All right. So even for those universities that, every time we think of, going to university in another country from what you're used to, the thought is that you would be in the capital, in the middle of the buzz of the country. So for those universities that, are outside of, the capital or the busiest city, for example, are they guaranteed, the same kind of an education that you will get in the big bustling cosmopolitan city, for example? Are they guaranteed that at the same time?
Yeah, of course it's guaranteed, because actually we have like almost 800 universities all in the country. And so not only, of course, Tokyo has many universities there, and they have also, of course, good quality education there, but the professors and the facilities, all university has good ones, and they guaranteed good education there. And especially, actually, if you think about living expenses, yeah, as we already told, it's good to live somehow a bit far from the very busy cities. Yeah, if you want to enjoy nature in Japan, it's good to live somehow a bit far from the busiest city, and then you can concentrate on your studies.
Yeah.
Dr. Midori-san, you're right now in Nairobi, and we hope that next week you'll be joining us in the studio.
Yes, please.
So you've come to Kenya, you've toured across Africa and other parts of the world. If you were to talk about now the culture and the differences in culture and the way people relate with one another between what you've seen in Kenya and what you see in Japan, what would you say are the main differences that a student who then goes to start studying in Japan would pick out immediately, and they need to know how to adjust?
Okay. It's a bit difficult to encourage. Yeah, because I already love so much Africans, so and then maybe I become somehow African. But what I think, and some Kenyans told me that maybe Kenyans is like they can open to everyone, and then they can say what they think before they think about how they are going to say it. But in Japanese, we are not so much open to everyone. If you close to someone, yes, we are very open. But before you get close relationship, we are always thinking how we will connect to each other, how we can communicate. That is a bit different from Kenya and Japan. And then both of them has good points, and both of them has somehow a bad or not good points. So maybe if we learn each other, it will be good, more good. And another thing is Bantu language, like Swahili. Swahili is this pronunciation is very similar to our language, Japanese language. We have iu, e, o, kakiku, keko, as Kiswahili have it. Yeah. So for Kenyans, it's if you speak Kiswahili or their ethnic language, it will be very easier for them to start speaking our language.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, great. Ryosuke, I see you nodding as Midori-san is explaining some of these things. You've dealt with a lot of international students arriving in Japan. What do you see as their bigger issues in culture shock, in trying to adjust to the lifestyle of in Japan?
Okay. Okay.
Well, sorry.
So it's you,
Yeah,
Ryosuke.
as far as yeah, sure. As far as I've seen international students, the biggest culture shock they might experience is, as Midori-san said, the communication style, the difference between communication style. Japanese people prefer to have some kind of space in not only the physical space, but also kind of mental space when they first meet someone for the first time. So, but international students, they tend to be more open to others than Japanese people. So with that difference makes causes kind of stress among international students.
What mistakes have you seen students making upon arrival, or even in the first couple of years of going through, that you would want to warn other students about, from end to end, whether it's in the application process and then starting school? What are some things that stood out to you that you would say, hold on a minute, if I were to advise students who are embarking on this process, I would stay away from 1, 2, 3, and I would definitely do 1, 2, 3?
Well, my little advice would be on the admissions interview. As I said, it's good that international students are open and they like to talk about themselves in the interview, and that's what the interview is all about. But especially Japanese professors, in the elderly age, they may not like being told about students themselves too much. It sounds like they are making a kind of
they're bragging.
Yes, they're bragging itself. So my advice would be a little bit to be humble and reserved when they get into the interview.
Okay.
Whoa, that's a big one.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting because a lot of times you're on this side of things, especially coming out of school and the way things are changing, coming out of high school, you're more or less taught to be confident in your ability, and that you should actually speak about the things that you're very good at, be expressive about yourself. And so it would be seen that it's interesting that could be potentially the thing that will get you not accepted.
Yes, so you shouldn't be really bragging about yourself. Okay, I can do this, I can do that, but I have this weakness, I have this weakness, but I'm very confident in doing this and that. That kind of approach might be suitable for interviews with Japanese people.
So balance yourself out. Don't just talk about your strong points.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Also talk about the areas where you're weak.
Yeah.
And the elderly professor then looks at you and says, yes, I can see.
I can teach
you. I can see where we can teach you. This is quite interesting.
Very interesting. So then I guess what you're saying essentially is that, because reading and getting to know a little bit about Japanese culture, so it still does play heavily whether you're dealing in a modern age or you're dealing with new practices and ways of doing things. Would you then say that Japanese culture is still heavily interwoven in the things that are happening today in education?
Yes, very much. If you look at the classroom, yes, international students being outspoken and Japanese students being shy, and they keep themselves kind of reserved, and not really outspoken. So, I've seen a lot of those situations. Yes.
All right. We thank you very much, Ryosuke Hori, for speaking to us today and letting us know about admission to Toyo University and how Kenyans can do this. Just tell us about your website, or is it going to the Study in Japan Global Network website where people would be able to get more information about Toyo University?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so what's the website? You can tell us, Midori-san, what's the website that if people want to go and find out more information about studying in Japan, about the universities that are offering English programs and all?
Okay, all right. Our website is www.studyinjapan-africa.com. studyinjapan-africa.com. If you search Study in Japan for Africa, you will see our website. And also the Toyo University's URL will be tweeted in our SNS. We have Facebook and Twitter. And of course, I think SpiceFM, you
yes,
you
we're
will
sharing
also
that as
tweet.
well.
Yes, yes, our URL.
Asante sana. Dr. Midori Diamond, the Study in Japan coordinator at Study in Japan Global Network. Thank you very much for speaking to us and also for introducing us to Ryosuke Hori, who's the inbound coordinator at the International Affairs Office of Toyo University. It's been an interesting conversation, and we look forward to next week's conversation as well, Midori-san, as we speak to others from another university.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Asante sana.
Asante. Time for us also to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home, but switch to SpiceFM, because in the next hour until 10 o'clock, we continue with looking at what's happening in the country and around the world. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us to assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi Lawoko?
I can't say it very well. No, I'm to Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows.
All right, it is coming up to 9 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. In the next hour, we see what's been happening, and now it's become a national conversation. So we want to retain it at the national and give it the prominence that it deserves. The conversation is around what's happening in our schools. Now, we have seen the governor of Kakamega County supporting what was said earlier by the former Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, who is also nominated Member of Parliament, Wilson Sossion. And they're both saying, you know what? These boarding facilities are not working for us. They're outdated. Let us abolish boarding altogether. Primary school, secondary school. Is this the solution that we want? Is this going to work? We'll open up the phone lines. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world.
This is Newswire. Dennis
Spice
Aseto.
FM.
Supreme Court judges are expected to meet any time from now to identify and give directions to appeals filed against the dismissal of the BBI. The appeals were filed by Attorney General and the IEBC. The court will decide whether 3 judges will withdraw from the hearing at the request of Isaac Oluchir, an interested party in the matter. Deputy President William Ruto kicks off his tour of the Nyeri region in Kisumu County, where he is expected to hold a series of political rallies before heading to Migori and Homa Bay counties respectively. According to his itinerary, the United Democratic Alliance Party leader will host his allies from Nyanza in the lakeside city, where the group will hand over the region's economic blueprint to Ruto. The DP will then later engage the residents of Kisumu at Kondele Market in Kisumu Central, where he is expected to donate a lorry for the Kondele youth group. The Muslim community has vowed to stage demonstrations every Friday to protest what their leaders describe as enforced disappearance and extrajudicial killings, mainly targeting Muslims accused of terror links. Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims Chairman Alhaj Hassan Olinado said the community has been unfairly targeted by security forces, particularly the Anti-terrorism police unit, which often detains suspects incommunicado. In Nairobi, they plan to hold rallies outside the Jamia Mosque with a similar program lined up in Mombasa's Makadara grounds. The event will start this Friday.
Kidnapping, murder, forced disappearances, that is terrorism. And anybody who in their mind thinks that you can terrorize people in your perceived fight against terrorism is really mistaken.
Starting this Friday, we are calling upon all Muslims around the country to embark on rallies after Friday prayers to protest these gross injustices. In Nairobi, a rally will be held outside Jamia Mosque after Friday prayers, and a similar program will be held at Magadara grounds in Mombasa.
Now, former police spokesperson Charles Owino has picked Rose Medio as his running mate in the 2022 Siaya gubernatorial race. Rose is the widow of former Gem MP Toyo Medio. Owino's choice of running mate from Gem is significant to his candidature, and this is meant to woo the people to support him. Owino had earlier indicated that he needed a woman to deputize him. He said he will prioritize food security and pledge to revive cotton growing in Rarieda, Alego Songa and Game. 9 students from various schools in Nyeri County have been detained at Nyeri police station after being arraigned on charges of possession and equipment believed to have been used to set fire to the schools. 3 from Kagumo High School and 6 from Kiandu High School were not charged for lacking legal representation. However, the judge has asked the prosecutor to find lawyers for the suspect so that the case can start. After finding a lawyer, the 2 will return to court tomorrow. Former U.S. President Barack Obama has said that he understood why young people are frustrated with the climate inaction from leaders and that most countries have failed to live up to the promises they made in the Paris Agreement. Obama, who was the U.S. leader in 2015 when the landmark accord was struck, said the world needed to step up its emissions-cutting pledges and work together to limit global temperature rises. He told the delegates in Glasgow that leaders had not done nearly enough to address the crisis and that they have to do more, and whether that happens or not to a large degree is going to depend on them. In the 6 years since the Paris deal, which seeks to limit global heating to between 1.5 and 2 degrees Celsius, planet-warming greenhouse gas emissions have continued to mount, and an assessment last week said that the carbon pollution will rebound this year to pre-pandemic levels. And fire tore through a hospital in western India, killing at least 11 coronavirus patients. The blaze was the latest to hit pandemic wards across India. There were about 24 patients in the intensive care unit in the hospital where the fire broke out. Most of the dead were aged over 60 years. Now, Vega Queens will have to play a fast and clinical in front of the goal if they are to reap maximum points against Morocco's Asfa to revive their semi-final hopes on the ongoing CAF Women's Champions League. The SECAFA representatives need to win the remaining 2 matches to guarantee themselves a place in the last 4 after losing 1-0 to Mamelodi Sundowns. Vihiga and goalkeeper Lilian Awor head goalkeeper Lilian Awor to thank after pulling several world-class saves to deny the South Africans a bigger win. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
Yes, we're still in traffic hour this morning, and we're seeing quite a lot of it in different parts of the city today. Coming off Thika Superhighway into the city centre, Jogo Road was a thing even before 6 o'clock hit, and Bagathi Way today is looking a little bit crazy. It's joining Gong Road and then getting towards Haile Selassie Avenue. A lot of drama on the roads this morning, so let's try to keep sane even amongst the drama. Mombasa Road, outbound, there's something going on, folks. Somebody want to tell me what's going on there so we can tell folks to, wait it out a little bit or then join in the madness and then apply some patience to the whole situation. What's your cup of tea? Let me know. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your
7
day.
minutes after 9. Good morning. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Situation Room this morning. If you're just joining us, welcome to the final hour of the show. If you've been with us since the beginning, Asante Sana, the day's proverb: sugarcane is sweetest at its joints. Sugarcane is sweetest at its joint. This is a Kenyan proverb. Yes. Now let's look at what's in the header in the papers today. We were talking about it yesterday. We had a 2-hour conversation about this yesterday. What's happening in our schools? Who will stop the horror of school infernos? That's the headline in the Standard today. It says the burning question is a number of school dormitories have been set ablaze in the last few weeks, with many of the cases being blamed on students' frustration. The 5 incidences have led to serious injuries, loss, and disrupted learning, and now Kenyans want them stopped. And they're looking to Interior CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, and his education counterpart, Professor George Magoha, to take charge. The Basic Education PS, Julius Joan, is quoted as saying the government will not take lightly burning of schools' property in the name of unrest among students. The headline in The Nation: the high cost of indiscipline. Parents Association says 35 schools have been affected by fires this term alone. And this cost of indiscipline is broken down into 6. Parents to pay punitive fines to repair and replace destroyed property. Learners to shop for new personal effects, loss of valuable class time in a tight calendar, the risk of injury and loss of life, the permanent criminal record archived by the DCI for those found culpable, and the teachers' careers on the line for what's happening in the schools. Now, the story on page 4 of the Standard this morning is looking at various areas. One of the schools that we know that got burnt down over the weekend was Kakamega High School. A very serious school with some very good track record in the past. Another one is Lugusi Secondary School in Kakamega County as well. The Kakamega governor, Wycliffe Oparanya, has talked about very many things. He's talked about indiscipline. He's talked about the need for a jail term. He says students found guilty of torching school should be jailed for up to 60 years. But the main bit of information that we want to discuss this morning is what he also says. He says we should ask ourselves whether boarding schools are necessary. This is the governor of Kakamega County. We should ask ourselves whether boarding schools are necessary. This is repeating a clarion call that has been made by Wilson Sossion, former NAT Secretary General and nominated Member of Parliament, many times. He has said, look, we need to get to a point where we accept and face our realities and our truths. Are boarding schools serving us, or are they not? Wilson Sossion has called more than once for the abolition of boarding schools. The governor of Kakamega County seems to be saying the same thing. The woman rep in Kakamega, Elsie Mahanda, says the same thing. Many more people have across the country have said the same thing. Boarding schools are unnecessary at this point. The question is, should we abolish boarding schools now? Is this justifiable reason, or are there other reasons that would lead to us having that conversation?
Sure. If we look at what the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers said in February this year, the Kenya Union, KUPPET, they started to lobby the national government to abolish boarding school policy due to rampant cases of school unrest. Now, we need to remember something. These waves, we've seen them. The waves have been there from the very first famous school fire that essentially ended up being caused at the hands of students, right? So this has started up and down has been the issue. KUPPET said at that time that there is unrest, and the unrest that we are seeing is in boarding schools at high school level, secondary school level. So this one is already demarcated. It's in boarding school, it's at high school level, and that's where we see the height of the problem. So this unrest now needs to be removed, and the only way to remove that is to send them home. According to their national officials, it was time for the national government to abolish boarding school policy across the country in a bid to restore this order in schools. So the disorder that we are seeing right now, the only way to get rid of it, abolish it. Let everybody go home and go to school on a daily basis, from home to school, back home. So we deal with the learning and the teaching and what we can admonish at that time, and then you go back home.
I don't understand the reasoning, though.
The national.
Do they explain?
Let me just give you a little bit more, right? They've said that the boarding school policy was taking a toll on learning in several schools across the country, especially in the wake of increased school burning incidences, that there was a need for national government, together with stakeholders, to rethink the boarding school policy, which he added was becoming increasingly untenable. The situation of unrest in the country was worrisome, especially for teachers who were now having to work under COVID-19 situations and suffer insecurity perennially. He said there was a need to recruit guidance and counseling personnel to schools who would aid in addressing psychosocial issues affecting students, rather than burdening teachers who are only trained to teach respective subjects. Sentiments were echoed by their executive secretaries, who said, you know what, this unrest, whatever the case may be, if they are dealing with indiscipline, which is what they've noted here, if they are dealing with wants and grievances that have not been met, clearly they come to school and these issues are fermented when they're all together living in one space at one time. So remove them from a residential status in school, let them go home and come back to school every day. Let's deal with this unrest once and for all.
I haven't understood. Please repeat.
Okay.
I haven't understood. I'm not getting the logic. Please
if they're dealing with the boardings because these fires do not happen in day schools. This unrest that we are seeing does not happen in primary school, right?
Right. Despite primary schools also having boarding. But okay.
So they're combining certain things. The age at which they are.
Yep.
They've just gotten into puberty. We don't have the capacity to have on-site psychological or psychosocial support that is needed at that time. We don't have that. Schools are not able to afford it, or schools don't have the capacity to do so.
Right.
At the same time, you're also dealing with that age. Even if you're dealing with indiscipline issues, even if you're dealing with grievances, it clearly is all something that is fermented, because they all come. They're sharing these ideas. They don't leave. They go from class. They go into the residential living accommodation areas. These ideas continue to ferment. So there are a raft of measures that can be taken to take care of these issues. But the first and foremost must be let us remove them from accommodation in school. Let them go home. And then we deal with these issues during the day, one-to-one. This is what they recommended in February.
Let us walk a couple of steps back. What is it that boarding schools offer? Boarding schools are not just offering accommodation, right? And we're talking about here secondary boarding schools.
Yes.
There's a majority of secondary schools in the country, well, close to a majority, if not a majority, are boarding schools. Students leave their homes, they go into boarding school, in secondary school, at that age that we've talked about, at that age when they're adolescent, at that age when they're developing, at that age when they're getting to maturity. They come back home at the ages of 17, 18, 19. At that age when they're developing. What do boarding schools offer? I'm just thinking, off the top of my head, I'm just thinking, one of them is it's a safe place for many. We may not talk about all of them, but it's a safe place for many who, if you told them, go to school and come back home, they will not come back home tomorrow.
True.
Because of whatever reason, whatever they're facing back at home. Either they are required to provide for the family because now they're being looked at as adults. If it's girls, they're at that age when they're like, okay, now, you can get married. Or they're at that age where you're mingling freely between the distance between home and school and over the weekends with people of the opposite gender. You could fall pregnant. All these things I think boarding schools offer a sense of safety.
Mhm.
Number one. Number two, what we talk about in primary school is also offered in secondary school. One of the things about primary school in this country, the school feeding program, there are people in urban areas who may discount that and just think about it as just anything. But the school feeding program in primary school is very crucial.
It's saving a lot
for
of
very, very many homes.
Mm.
Because this is the place where children go, they get a meal, they come back home.
Mm.
So the same now imagine in boarding school. They are getting 3 square meals a day because every boarding school in this country, especially those that are run by government, they offer the 3 meals a day. So you're getting 3 meals a day, you're getting accommodation, and you're getting access to facilities. Many of them, yes, they'll have access to your study hours, study time.
Mm.
You have access to light and lighting to study later at night, whether it's electricity or whether, however it's being powered, but at least you have access to that and time to study.
Mhm.
I see that. What's the other thing that I see boarding schools offering? Integration and cohesion. Students come from various parts of the country to go to a county school,
Mhm.
to go to an extra county. Extra county means that students from several counties will come here. It's the former provincial schools.
Mhm.
The national schools, children from all over the country will come and meet at the national school. There is integration. You're meeting with others from various other homes, from various other cultures, from various other backgrounds, and you're developing together. Look at the people who are in boarding schools together and the kind of bond that they formed, which stays on to date. If C.T. Muga were here today, he'd tell us about his days in high school and that he still has friends from high school. In fact, the other day he was telling us, unfortunately, they lost one of their a former schoolmate in high school.
Mm.
It provided that bond. I'm not saying that day schools don't, but you have more time with one another. You bond, integrate. The fourth thing that I'm thinking about is a crucial thing of affirmative action. That it allows boarding schools are where you're able to see a child from a disadvantaged homestead getting a chance to go to a good school that is outside their locality.
Where they were born and bred.
Where they were born and bred, and they are able to go to that school.
Mm.
Now, if you remove that and you say that this child can only go to a day school, you're basically saying that they have got to go to the local school. Currently, we can argue until the cows come home that, oh, the government should make sure that all the facilities are level. Yeah, it'll take years. But currently, that is what it's offering. Affirmative action for very many young boys and girls. So to say that we abolish boarding schools, we are going to lose all these things. Why? Because we are thinking that fires are caused in boarding because children are sleeping in boarding schools? I don't agree.
Well, I think that if you have that blanket action and abolish boarding schools, essentially you have a baby bathwater moment where you throw out the good things as well as the bad things. But we cannot run away from the fact that this is an issue. We have people who graduated from high school 10 years ago and remember that this was an issue then. And they're burning down the schools because there is something that there's something going on. Whether we're going to chalk it up to indiscipline, whether either teachers are using students to try and pass a message, look, there is no narrative I didn't hear yesterday. I was even told yesterday that it's possible that some headmasters are actually trying to get additional funds in their schools because government doesn't have money to provide for them. So if a school is burnt down, what does that mean? That 500 students are going to bring you 1,500 shillings or 2,000 shillings. So you get some 10 million bob that the school was not going to give you. You repair your dormitory and you have some change to spare. I heard that narrative yesterday. I also heard that teachers said they needed a break to go and tend to their... There is no narrative that you will not be told as to the reasons why this is happening today. So, do you need to put a pin in it and diffuse the situation and say, okay, hold on, what really is going on here? And I actually see a reluctance to find out the truth. There's so many pots that are boiling at the same time.
Yep.
You can't just put it to one. Honestly, Eric, we cannot put it to one thing and say students are indisciplined, so therefore schools are burning down. There are so many other things that are at play here. So, is there time? Because it would be very easy. If you ask me, abolishing of schools is the easy solution.
It's a very quick one.
Today,
let the children go back home.
Today, CS Magoha says, okay, we're going on midterm, right?
Don't come back.
Don't come back. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to take the next 1, 2, in fact, go for Christmas. We're going to take that time and recalibrate. Come January,
You're all in day schools.
You're all in day schools. It's very easy. And if you ask me, it's just the same way it was very easy during COVID for us to say, close schools.
Go home.
That was the easy solution. But is it going to solve the problem?
Is
Let's
it
be
addressing
honest.
the issue?
It's not addressing the issue because there's so many factors at play here. There's the student factor in discipline. There's the teacher factor. There are grievance factors involved here. There's also that headmaster factor. There are those who are trying to send a message. There's so many things at play here. What are we doing to address the issue? And it's not just one issue. There are many issues percolating here. Who is actually going to put out the real fire? Fire here is imagery for what is really burning. And who is going to say, okay, folks, what is going on? Do we really want to address the issue?
Okay, so I'm seeing TJ Apache saying, our children are developing a bad habit in discipline. Boarding schools have become a haven for bad character. Let the boarding schools be abolished ASAP. Now, if we abolish the schools ASAP, are we saying that day schools don't have cases of indiscipline? So I was in school about 30 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was in a boarding school in secondary school. There were some secondary schools that I knew of in the country that had cases of indiscipline. Going on strike, left, right, and center. I mean, schools were notorious for students going on strike. Both boarding
and
day. There were day schools that are known now. These characters who are in this particular day school, my friend, issues, bad news. There are schools within Nairobi where you just knew, if you come across students from this particular school, my friend, take a corner from very far. I was roughed up. They came to our boarding school, one school in Nairobi. I had just been given a watch. It went. These are visitors to our school. A bunch of 4 or 5 boys are walking. I'm just walking. I'm walking. I'm with them. The watch went. They were from a boarding school.
Bad news.
Yes. So is it... No, they were from a day school. I was in a boarding school.
Right.
Is it that the boarding schools are the ones... Yes, so that we can see the students agitating and torching and all these things that are happening. Is it because of boarding facility? It's not the first time we have boarding facilities. Let's hear from you, though, as we continue the conversation. 0719 012 600. Should boarding schools be abolished? Should boarding schools be abolished? Let's hear from you. Ed Gitonga.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Good morning,
Very well, Ed. How are you?
I'm fine. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. Are you well?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Now, Eric, and let me tell you something. Boarding schools are not the problem here. As you're aware, Eric, I'm in the matatu industry, so I have generally interacted with students from different schools, especially right now as we speak.
Yes.
And I can assure you for a fact, for example, yesterday, my Equator girls in Nyeri, they had an unrest and they were sent home. And I got to interact with some fellow students. And actually, most of them, when we were passing, we were going to Katina, when we were passing Kagumo High School, they asked me, sincerely speaking, even Kagumo has gone home. And I was like, yes. And they told me, it's not us. Let me use the exact word. Sio sisi kupenda. Ni kuna wachache walio shule hawataki shule.
Students.
So it's a few bad apples.
Yes, and actually, let me even give you the example that I was given. When there was unrest in Moi Equator Girls at night, in the morning, the principal advised the students, if you want to leave, you can leave at your own pleasure. And 3 of them left. They went to the principal and got permission, got leave out, and they left. And those, actually, when I asked the student, she was like, one of them was telling me, that one, the uncle works at a certain university, and actually, it's only a certain grade that she's been asked to achieve, alafu maisha itaenda nyewe. That is what she told me.
So the bad apples are known.
The bad apples are known.
All right. So Ed, let's get to the question so we can also hear from others. Do you support the call to abolish secondary boarding schools?
No, I don't. No school should be abolished. What they should do is they should handle indiscipline in a very strict way.
Okay.
Yes.
Asante sana, Ed. Have a lovely day.
Have a lovely day too.
Kuria in Nyeri, good morning.
Hi, how are you guys?
Fine, thank you.
I talk with a lot of bitterness because Kagumo High School has been mentioned and I was an old boy, so I feel so bad.
Yeah, Kagumo, home.
But anyway, back to the topic.
Yes.
Me, I don't think that boarding schools should be abolished, Eric. Why? It is not only boarding schools which are striking, even the day schools. But I believe in boarding schools, we need three persons to be considered. That is the parents, the teachers, and the government. In case of the parents, Eric, we all know that we have two types of parents. We have the have and the have-not. Maybe the question I should ask the parents who have, what advice do you give the kids when they are at home? Maybe some of them get access to DSTV, Wi-Fi, even Weetabix and bread and butter. Do you tell them that where they are going to prepare for their own future, where they are going? We all of us know they have not. We have others in school who are there due to social mobilization. Some of them, we found them on social media, tukawafanyia harambee, wakaenda shule.
Yep.
Are you sure that person is going to strike or even resist to not to go to school? Maybe at home they don't get something to eat. Look at the teachers. Now let us go to the teachers or the principals. Do they do what we call SWOT analysis? Do they know their strength, their weakness, the opportunity, and the threat, and the time frame they are, and the threat? What do I say? Let me ask a question. If I ask you, if you can tell me the top 10 academic schools in Kenya, I'm sure you are going to mention around 5, not so?
Yep.
But if I ask you, which school won the national basketball or the volleyball or even the drama, do you know any?
I don't know them, but they are those that won in 2019.
Do you know any? No, you don't know. Why? You see, these kids, they have talent. If at all you are the principal or head teacher of a school, I will not mention maybe Eric High School, and you've never achieved an A or even an A-, but yet you went to the nationals of volleyball or handball or athletics. Why don't you mentor these kids through volleyball and athletics? Then you ask them, hey, look, guys.
So are you saying, Korea, essentially, that abolish schools, have day schools, and focus on extracurricular and co-curricular activities?
In fact, I will not lie to you. You can even make sure that these co-curricular can even uplift. Let me tell you, why do you know Kakamega High School? You know Kakamega High School because of football, but academically, they have become powerhouse. Now look, go and now go to the government or the TSC. Do they protect the teacher? Do you know, Eric, what I will say? And I will not mention that school, my friend. Do you know what happened? Imagine a student was caught with bang or this marijuana thing. That student was expelled. Do you know what happened thereafter? I hear a phone call was made from a senior person telling that teacher, my friend, don't dare touch that kid. Are the teachers protected? They are not. They are told, you know, you guys, what you're supposed to do, you have to counsel this guy who was caught with bang. Yet, when you touch that or you point a finger at that kid, my friend, your job is at risk. You as a teacher, what are you going to do?
That's
what are you going to do?
Kweli.
So,
Korea, thank you.
Let us get all that collective things, and they are going to, it is under the boarding schools which are striking. Even these schools are striking.
Okay.
There is something that is not incognito.
Asante sana. Teddy in Voi.
Yes, Eric. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Teddy.
Ndu, my sister, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yes, I'll just break to the point because I don't want to go into many stories. Number one, the moment we did away with the capital punishment, we messed our kids. Number two, parenting is an issue in the current society. Number three, our kids have an exposure to the internet and they have actualized the concept of freedom and right, and they cannot be told anything. Truth be told, as a teacher, I cannot advise anyone's son or daughter because at the end of the day, the kid will tell you, I stand to lose nothing because my father has everything.
Have you been met with this kind of... I'm sorry to jump in there, but have you been met
Yes.
with this kind of response as you are carrying out teaching duties?
I'm a guiding and counseling teacher.
Uh-huh.
And I can bet you, a student comes to the office, he has been found with mistakes here and there.
Mm.
You counsel the kid. Little did you, will you realize that he has actually gotten in the advice. Later on, for you to come and realize whatever he's speaking outside there, maybe to the other students, it's like, I don't stand to lose anything because my father has everything.
So he's just sitting there, just going through the motions. Doesn't really care what Teacher Teddy is saying.
Exactly. So whatever you're talking to him or whatever you're trying to take him, guide him through, it's a waste of time to her or him.
It is Maliza Niende.
Maliza Niende, exactly. That is the point.
Unfortunately. So Teddy.
Yes.
Do you support abolition of boarding?
I'll tell you, Eric, for free. They are not the first people who have been to boarding schools. For the matter of a fact, I've been boarding school, primary, secondary, until when I went to college. So the abolition of boarding schools will not help anything.
Okay.
The only thing here is for parents to stand up as parents. And the biggest challenge that we have when it comes to parenting is the question of single parents. This is where the biggest mistake is. Because look at a scenario where there's no fatherly figure in a house to make this from two kids understand where it's supposed to be coming from. It poses a big challenge, Eric.
Thank you, Teddy.
Yes, thank you so much.
Asante. Let's go to Evans in Kisumu. Good morning.
Good morning, SpiceFM.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm Evans from Kisumu. I'm saying, with what I think students have, by time the government and the stakeholders education should sit down and maybe look at what can do, because maybe there are things that students may require that they cannot be understood at the time. That this becomes, it is not just a matter of...
Evans, there's something wrong with your line. We can't hear you properly. But thank you very much for calling. 26 minutes to 10. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Should boarding schools be abolished? There have been calls for abolition of boarding schools from the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, from the former Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, Wilson Sossion, who's a member of parliament. Now we have seen the governor of Kakamega joining the cause and saying, let's just do away with boarding. Why? Because students in boarding schools are torching their dormitories and other facilities. Is this a solution? Should boarding schools be abolished? We'll hear from you. We'll open up the phone line 0719-012-600. But first, let's take a break and see how the traffic is looking like on the roads.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafande umbo yako iko na
nini umba special.
This is the Situation. The weather with Spice FM.
Sunny conditions this Nairobi morning at 22. It's going to get pretty warm today, going to highs of 27 and lows of 16. Nakuru is mostly cloudy at 20, highs of 28 and lows of 15. It's 19 degrees and sunny in Nyeri, highs of 25 and lows of 15, while Eldoret is sunny at 21. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 13. Mombasa, sunny conditions at 28, going to highs of 32 today. And in Malindi, it's sunny at 29. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 27. At 26, Kisumu is cloudy, highs of 31 and lows of 21. And sunny in Kakamega at 27, highs of 31 and lows of 16. Kampala sunny at 24, highs of 28. We're looking at light rain now back in Dar es Salaam. At 29, it'll go to highs of 32 and lows of 24. Lagos is mostly sunny at 26, highs of 31 and lows of 25. And Johannesburg is sunny at 16 with highs of 23. It'll come down to lows of 13. Kinshasa is cloudy at 25, highs of 33 and lows of 24. Paris, 2 degrees, clear, highs of 12 and lows of 2. It's 10 degrees and sunny going into early evening in Beijing, coming down to lows of 4. It's clear, actually cloudy in London at 13, highs of 16 today. And New York, waking up to Tuesday, it is clear at 12, highs of 20 and lows of 11. The question of the morning: what on God's green earth is happening on Mombasa Road today? It doesn't look pretty at all, folks. This is all the way from Imara Daima at that connection with the Southern Bypass. Inbound to the city, outbound as well in certain parts, but it's absolutely crazy. So what option can you use? The Southern Bypass. If you can get to it, that's the option that you can use to get out of Mombasa Road. I'm very sorry. I don't know what is causing this, but if somebody knows, you know the number, give me a message on that through the morning. Jogo Road is easing off, not too bad right now. Langata Road didn't get the memo about the ease off, and it's still crazy there. The Thika Superhighway looking much better. Kiambu Road, however, still attending that party. Okay. Talk to us through the morning, folks, on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127. Things are still crazy on Mombasa Road.
Spice and everything nice. All right.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
So it continues. Schools. And should boarding schools be abolished? What do you think? We are seeing some leaders saying, yes, this is the way to go. I personally say absolutely no way. There's a lot that boarding schools offer, and they've been there for very many years. Look at what else is causing the strikes and the unrest in schools. Just some of the social media comments.
That's impractical in terms of the abolishing. Reintroduce the cane and corporal punishment, and Kababa and Kamama will toe the line. Wow, okay. Okay, says reevaluate.
That sounds like Zachary.
It does. Reevaluate infrastructure in schools and how boarding school or sections are managed. Teachers are employed to teach and fill in TSC forms. Do not manage boarding activities. All right. Benjamin says boarding school has been there and indiscipline was not as is currently being experienced. The education CS should get to the bottom of the problem. Closing it down is not the solution. The unrest in schools is very alarming, Apache says. Let us go back to the drawing board and come up with strict measures to put a stop to this. A very serious meeting must be arranged with PTAs ASAP. Put off the fires and unrests, and we are left with clean education. That's another thing there. Just close schools until January next year as the relevant stakeholders brainstorm. The solution lies within, not without. Review infrastructure standards in boarding schools. Ayuko says they are necessary. Just return corporal punishment, my goodness, and put laws for school-going children that can have consequences in case of unrest, arson, or riot. The children should be made aware of the consequences and put counselors and social workers in schools that will help with counseling and checking on kids' welfare. Okay,
let's go to the lines then. Zachary is in Nakuru. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
You have said it sounds like Zachary. No, me, I do not.
It was not you.
I would not at any time support corporal punishment.
Okay.
I know it can traumatize. I know it made me hate some subjects. some teachers who are not very, very good in teaching their subjects like mathematics made us hate that subject by being too much, brutal, yeah? It won't change anything. Now, let me say this, Mr. Eric, yeah?
Boarding, yeah.
Mr. Eric, I come from a generation whereby when you know that you are closing, you are going for your holidays. Live around that you have had a strike. You are going for a school holiday like now December. Where do I come from? I come from Central Province, yeah. And in Central Province, there is this coffee issue. There is this tea, yeah. There is also grazing. When you are closing school, in fact, you cried because you are subjected to that much work. Okay?
All the work that you're going to do.
Yeah, what about today's kid? When he is going to home, there is the fridge there is the remote there, there is here they call them boch, they are washing their clothes, yeah? So we were brought up to be people who can be dependent. Like today, me, if I don't do what I'm doing, I can go to a farm and pick coffee, yeah? At the same time, let me also I'm made to remember this. I come from near Komodhai, Komodhai, Kaboi, There are those women, old women and men, who used to come and tell us the story of the schools that were established by the colonialists in conjunction with the Africans who embraced education and religion. Yeah, I in particular remember one lady. It's a grandmother now late, yeah, and may she rest in peace. Ninawa Mushiri, okay. Another old person called Gondogadu and the mother, yeah, the late Gadus. They know they can hear me. They are listening to me, yeah. Every Saturday, those women would come and tell us, do you know how what pain you went through coming up with this classroom, coming up with this church, coming up with those pews that you are sitting on. In fact, the women would tell us, Eric, I know you know the slopes, yeah? In Central, we have got the slopes, yeah? The women would go for the stones from down the river, yeah?
River.
You carrying them on their backs. And therefore, when I go to those areas and I see that church, I see that school.
You see the sweat.
Very old ones, yeah.
And the long work that was put to have it there.
Yeah, I see the blood and life of those founders, yeah. A place like Karan's High School.
So basically, Zachary, if I get what you're saying, is what you're saying that the current generation does not understand the pain or the effort and sacrifice that's being made to have them in school.
Definitely. Let me tell you, Mr. Eric, if it was finished, because I know the others, is it? For you to make up to be there at 6 a.m., yeah? You sacrifice a lot. Do sacrifice a lot. Mr. Mwalimandro sacrifice a lot, is it?
Yes.
But then the kids that you leave at home, they do not know. Some of them, when you are living there, they are fast asleep, yeah? And therefore, today, if you don't make to go back with some meat or some fancy things that you are used to take to them, yeah? They may decide, we are going out to burn the sofa set or whatever dad has made for us, isn't it? Why? Because they do not know their pain. And on your part, Mr. Eric, yeah? Kindly make sure, and every other parent who is listening, when you are taking this, when you are providing for your kids, tell them the story that you have gone through. Tell them the pain that you have gone through. Remind them there are others who are not able to have this privilege. And therefore, whatever you have, nurture it. Take care of it.
Yeah.
And, be godly. Do you understand? That is what we call
Thank you, Zachary.
People. Thank you, guys, and have a nice day.
You too. Karanja.
Yes, how are you?
Good morning.
City is there and Ndu, eh?
City is away today, but Ndu is here.
Oh, Ndu, habari yako?
Nzuri sana.
Now,
should boarding schools be abolished?
I think it's the abolition of the boarding school is not right. What should happen to me? I think we as a parents,
we should do two things. If you compare the other boarding school days today, is quite a difference. Because in a boarding school, you find a student is getting in school with an iPhone or maybe a phone, maybe worth from 10,000 and above. Another thing, the school has become an area whereby you see one of the students have a lot of things like worth 7,000, 5,000 in a school, and he has a pocket money. You see?
Yeah.
There is no measure for standardization in school. For instance, unaweza kuta mtoto mmoja amekuja na shopping ya worth 5,000, ako na simu ya bei kali. Huyo mtoto ako na pesa yake ya mfuko kama 10,000 ameweka kwa bazaa ama ameweka mahali fulani. Wengine hata wanakuja na mvinyo.
Yep.
Wengine wanakuja na mvinyo kwa shule.
So what is this now? How is this impacting the students?
It is affecting the student in one thing. Unakuta hawa wenye wamekuja na hizo vitu zote, wanakuja wengine wako kwa shule hawana hizo vitu. Unaona? Sasa wanaanza kuwaambia sasa nyinyi sisi ndio tunasema kwa shule. Sasa nyinyi hamuna kitu. Lazima muiname. I remember one day nilifosiwa kufua nguo kama ndoo 3. Nilikuwa mono. Nilifosiwa kufua ndoo 3 za shule. Na nguo za ndani, unaona? I was a student in Kanuga Boys High School, unaona? Sasa ukiangalia hiyo mambo yote inakuja, alafu pale kuna walimu wenye wako ndani wanakorudu na hawa students. Unaona? Kuna yule soja kwa gate anakorudu na hawa students. Unaona?
Okay, bottom line, Karanja. You're saying that boarding schools should not be abolished.
Yes.
Sawa. Thank you very much, Karanja.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Good day. Steve in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning, Eric, and the lady there.
Good morning.
The lady there greets you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a good Tuesday morning.
Yes, it is. Do you support the calls to abolish boarding schools?
I don't support. One, I think what we need to do is to talk to our children, both parents and teachers at school. Let's talk to our children. Let's engage them. Let's listen to them. And when we do that, we'll find we'll have they'll be able to, you talk to them, they'll be able to listen to you. They'll give you their grievances they undergoing in school. When a child comes home from school, to listen to the child, like what is not right, what is not good in school. And then you'll be able, you as a parent, you take it over even to school. So that you can talk to the teachers. Like, my child is complaining about this and this. Can we sit down and maybe try to sort it? Because if it's affecting my child, then it's affecting around 10 or 100 children in the school.
Okay.
Because when you say you want to go away with the boarding school, you find that they're banning the school from the dorms. The problem is not in the dorms. You might find the problem is in the classroom. But the best way to react, and whereby they cannot be seen for victimization later, is to hide in the dorm and ban the school so that you cannot know it's Nyeri or Shiro or Kimani that banned the school. You see?
Okay. Sawa.
Another point is, let me give another point about the not abolishing the school, the boarding schools. Is I'm thinking about under the economic situation, you find that some boarding schools, a lot of boarding schools are very far from the main town.
Yep.
Some are 30 kilometers away from the interior, like the one I went was 30 kilometers from the main town. And you find there are no people, the indigenous in the area, there are few maybe, and people cannot access that boarding school. So when you say now students will have to go to the schools nearby, then that means a lot of schools that are interior or far will not be accessed. Do they mean that they'll have to close down? or do they have to relocate?
Yeah, some pertinent questions there. Pertinent questions.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Steve. Let's hear from others as well who are calling in. I see we had Maura calling in from Canada. Unfortunately, the call has gotten disconnected. Stanley in Mombasa, good morning.
Morning to you. How are you?
Good
Fine,
morning.
thanks.
Yes, I'm in Mombasa. I'm a tax operator at the Moi International Airport. I listen to SpiceFM nearly from morning until the time I sleep, whether I'm in my car, driving people, or at home.
Asante sana.
Now, this issue, thank you. This issue of school, Mimi, I've tried to listen to you, but I think we are not going to the point. The point is how the kids are being brought up today. The kids are brought up in a manner which I would say like favors from the parents. I don't think this has anything to do with the teachers in school. It is mostly from home.
Okay.
The way you bring up your kids, the way I was brought up. I was in Chuka Boys High School. The way I was brought up like with an iron fist. And I've brought up my kids like that. And I assure you, I don't think any one of them would even think of organizing a strike or something like that anywhere in the schools. And they have been in boarding schools all the way from Standard 4, all of them. The three of them. When they get to Standard 4, I take them to boarding schools. Straight from Standard 4, all of them. So there's a big problem. The problem lies with the parents. If you don't instill the discipline from home, this discipline will go all the way to the boarding school. Yeah, so maybe I would suggest, though it is not a good idea to abolish boarding schools, but for parents to take up
their responsibility,
I would recommend we start setting up boarding schools so that the kid goes there to learn and goes back to the parents.
To their parents.
To be brought up in the same bad way that they've been brought up.
And then
you just go there. You just go to school. You are taught by the teacher, and you go back to your parents who are bringing you up like a tomato or a pineapple.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, I would think
Thank you,
it's not a
Stanley.
very bad idea. It's not good, but it's not a very bad idea.
Okay.
Yeah, give the parents their responsibility. Remember when kids were staying home for a long time? Some parents were complaining that we are going to stay with the kids for so long.
Yeah.
You are complaining staying with your kids, surely.
Thank you, Stanley. Thank you very much for calling.
Thank you so much.
Good day. Let's go to Kisumu. Evans.
Yes, City.
This is Eric. City is away today.
Oh, okay, Eric. I back online. I was saying.
Yes.
I support that the school should be abolished.
Why?
Because if it has reached a situation where it is dormitory burning down and they should go to school, they must go to school. So it is the only solution, I think, is giving away boarding schools. And maybe, the issue of returning maybe canes, that I think will not help. Because even currently, canes are used. I think maybe they have reduced it, but it is still. So I think if the government can decide maybe to ban canes, then actually they can decide to ban the whole schools anyway.
Okay.
So
abolish boarding.
Thank
you,
Then
Evans.
the government abolish boarding schools. Thank you.
Asante sana, Evans. A comment from Walter Kipps on Twitter. He says, shule in short ni umbwakni. Unasoma ndio ufit kwa system, uchezewe hadi uzeeke. Mtu yeye anatinga shule wiki moja aje sasa.
How do you shake up the system in just a week? Is that what he's saying?
Saying, no, school is just an inconvenience.
Oh, really?
Just going there is silly. You're being trained to fit into a system. Then you're being there, play around with you until you grow old.
This one is
So what is this? Why you close? Why, for example, are kids only closing school for 1 week?
This one is
Mtu anafunga shule wiki moja aje sasa.
This one is in school.
This one is just tired.
This is in school.
Many of the comments that are coming in are varied.
Mm.
But I think a common thread here is there is indiscipline and there are various issues. You hear from teacher Teddy who says, I am a guidance and counseling teacher. I sit down with a student. I am taking them through. And later I realize that guy or girl was just sitting there looking at me like, yeah, you're just a teacher. I mean,
Finish when you're done. I'm going.
yeah, I'm only here. I'm only passing through here to check the boxes. Do I have a Form 4 certificate? All right. After that, my life has been sorted by my parent. There are those that are saying it's because of how we are bringing the children. Those that are saying it's because of how we have disempowered the teachers. There are those that are saying it's because we are not listening to the children and how they're speaking to us and what they are raising as concerns. Bottom line, the issue of whether boarding should be scrapped or not.
It's not the solution to the problem. It's not the solution because you might then take a sledgehammer to an ant. You know, and there are very many ants. How many times are you going to bash that? How many will you bash in rapid succession? Whereby you could start to debunk these issues one by one and take them apart. Abolishing schools, for me, is an easy solution. Boarding schools is an easy solution.
It's an
escape route, you know, for this problem. And the problem is not just one. It's multi-layered. It's multi-pronged. It's going to have a multi-approach to it. You're going to have to deal all those things you've mentioned. You're going to have to deal with them one by one. Disempowerment of teachers, not looking at it as a proper profession, not dealing with the grievances that people talk about. Hot water, people talk about cold water in the winter months in Kenya. People talk about not feeding children properly, indiscipline. Across board, you're going to have to deal with each and every one of those issues. And the laziness to deal with that could be the problem.
It'll land us in problems. I see. And I still want to go back to that point. I haven't seen anything that's moving me away from that point. There's an issue that emerged even with the BBI process, and that was our national values. If we do not have those values, if we don't have the values where we understand our role as parents, where we understand how to raise our children, how we behave, that our children are observing us and how we are behaving, what we are saying, how we are doing things, and we expect that they're going to be different, we will lose it. Proverbs 22 says, bring your child up, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he'll not depart from it. Proverbs 22, verse 6. Train up a child while knowing that you, as a parent, you are there to parent a child. You're not there to facilitate a child's happiness, come what way. I think it's that. Anyway, the day's proverb is about sugarcane. Sugarcane is sweetest at its joint. Sugarcane is sweetest at its joints. Doesn't matter. Yes, it's difficult, it's hard, it's treacherous, it's hard to get there, it's difficult to chew it, to bite it. But that, once you conquer all that, you get the juice.
My goodness. I like this proverb.
Sugarcane is sweetest at its joint. Thank you for tuning in. Join us again tomorrow morning. Have a lovely day. It's now 10 a.m.